Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Not So Late Night live stream show with your hosts, Jimmy Degenerate, and special guest host, CK the DJ. And now, please welcome Jimmy Degenerate and CK the DJ.
Hi, how are you? How's everybody? Yeah, we're here. We're here now.
We are here.
I'm up front this time, and I'm in the front lines now. It's just Nate solo right now.
Right, all by himself with his earpiece.
Sorry, team.
Sorry, we'll still include him in the conversation. So how have you been doing?
Pretty good. I'm working a lot. My days off switched, so we're kind of doing Saturdays now, at least for this month.
Yeah, you guys, for all the creepers and the listeners, we're doing Saturdays for just this month.
Yeah, I basically close every Friday, and I used to work mornings on Saturday, but there's no fucking reality. I'm getting out of work at like 2:30 in the morning, getting here at 3, and then going back to work at 11 a.m. So I was like, take me off Saturdays. Like, I'm not going to be a server on those days if I'm like closing on Fridays.
I kind of liked it Saturdays just because with my new hobby of DJing, like, I feel like more of my gigs have been on Saturdays or Sundays, but usually I'll go out. I mean, not every time. I used to go out on Thursdays all the time to Wicker Park, to Swig. That was, on Thursdays. They have the goods, and then Enjoy has their thing. So, like, Friday's like the weekend, but then by the time Sunday comes along, it's like, okay, back to work, or just rest, like not do anything. But Saturday's work, I mean, I just feel bad. I always feel bad telling you guys, like, hey, I can't do today. But, I mean, we might have some more guests coming up on my end that I'm going to collaborate with you guys. Because they kind of came out of the woodwork, and I don't really want to, I don't want to ghost this person because they're a really talented rapper. They're young.
Oh, yeah, and just exposure is
really
fun.
And I think it's nice to know, like, after time has gone by to see how they're doing. Because when me and Matthew did our podcast, we started it out as, just just kind of remembering, like reminiscing about before the quarantine.
Yeah.
And then it turned into more political with George Floyd and the Women's March and a lot of this other, Trump being president. I mean, just there was so much to talk about.
So much happened.
So it turned
into
more political,
So many things happened in the last few years. I don't know.
But this
we also have like a lot of busy months.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I don't think I've ever stopped, honestly.
Nate's wedding is like literally next week. We'll be in 2
Are
months.
we going? No.
No.
I mean, you don't like us that much?
We're not going to do the show. We're not going to do the show.
We don't do the show. I'm just saying we show up at Mazel Tov or something.
The
invitation's already got sent out.
Mazel Tov at a wedding? I don't know. Can you say that?
I don't think you can.
Is it a Catholic wedding?
No.
Okay.
Actually, it's like some weird brunch. Well, it's not weird. I guess it's uncommon.
I always assume everyone's either atheist or Jewish. So I'm just
so the wedding is on an island. It's a destination wedding in Michigan.
That's right. So we definitely can't go there.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to get there. There's no cars allowed on the island.
There actually
is.
Oh
my God, how pretentious.
No, all right, so check it out. It's actually in a really cute place, and I knew about it before he even went to scout for buildings because I used to work for a shuttle service for J1 students, and those are like Europeans, Eastern Europeans, Middle Easterns that come to this country on visas to work. Mm-hmm. And it's mainly like Wisconsin Dells or on Mackinac Island, which I mean, that would
be kind of cool to go to.
It used to be a fishing port.
Oh, okay.
Way back in the day. And then from there, it turned into this cute little island where they never changed any of the buildings or renovated anything.
It as it was.
So you go back there and it's like stepping back in time.
Is it like a ghost town? Or
no, it's still predominant. In fact, the nation's best fudge comes from there. That's what what Mackinac Island's known for. They make dynamite fudge. In fact, Nate's like, me and Amanda are going scouting.
Wisconsin and Michigan have the best fudge.
Well, that's the thing, but but the fudge there is absolutely amazing.
It's famous,
And when Nate was going to scout, I was like, "Oh, you got to eat the fudge." He's like, "Oh, I don't know anything." I was like, "Oh, the fudge."
When you go to the East Coast, you eat the water tat.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, like every time he mentioned, "Oh, Mackinac Island," I was like, "Oh, the fudge." And then one day he calls me up and he's on Mackinac Island, and he's like, "Hey,
I'm eating fudge."
He's like, "What's your address?" I'm gonna send you some fudge, and I was like, I will pay you, and he's like, don't even worry about you.
That's literally gold. If you send someone like you're friends with them forever.
And he sent me this little brick of Mackinac Island fudge, and it was delicious. But but it's super cute. They don't let cars on there. Everything is horse and buggy.
Interesting.
And my
or
one
bicycle.
So is
or
it
bicycle.
like Amish kind of?
No,
it's just they're just trying to keep it a little quaint.
Yeah, they're trying to keep
like
it
it's
historical,
a small
basically.
island. It's
and I
only
think
like
it doesn't ruin like anything either.
yeah,
like,
cars would crowd it up. You know what I mean? It's a little. It's like eight miles in circumference.
You have to take a ferry to get there.
Yeah.
Like there's no road.
I
or
like
bridge.
that shit. It's like
so it's
if
super
you should
cute
be,
and
you should
quaint.
make it all noir and like wear like a cabin, like a fucking like
I might
wedding,
buy a fedora.
The
Yeah,
wedding
like a
venue
fedora.
is a real everything is real old there, right? They haven't really updated anything just to keep the
historic,
the aesthetic up and stuff like
so
that.
I wonder who owns the land.
It's a bunch of like old fur traders and stuff.
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
also
Oh
a
my
thing.
God,
It
it's
used to be like a French fur raid travel from like Canada or something.
So like my pappy was from France.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
something
got a lot of history there. You can take ghost tours and stuff like that because it's a big.
Yeah,
it's
and
a big.
It's super cute. It's a super
yeah.
cute little island. I've never been, but it's like a 6 or 7 hour drive, something like that. And
From
then
Chicago,
like
yeah.
30-minute
that
ferry
seems
ride.
that seems like a good, solid, healthy, like road trip because it's not 7 hours is a long time, but if you have something you're looking forward to, there's like
it's definitely like a pseudo romantic thing.
Yeah,
it's like something you do with your partner.
I always like your perspective is that you get there faster because you're so happy, you're so excited to get there. And then like the long ride home is like nice because you're just exhausted and you just want to go home and you're like you're content. Like
hopefully
I always
it'll
that
be
was really good road trips. So, like
that's kind of how it was when me and Hamilton, a mutual friend of Nate and mine, who we went to college with, who went to my friend's wedding in Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a 4 or 5 hour drive, but the drive felt like nothing, and it was super cool to get there. And Hamilton had like. I don't think he went to Iowa, but he had driven out there on the border, and he's like, "Oh, on the way we can stop at the world's largest truck stop." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh, along the way is the world's largest truck stop." And I was like, "Well,
how big is it?
It's fucking huge, dude."
It's
so
like a stadium.
So you like walk in, and it's a huge.
How many showers do they have? Because they have to have the shot right.
So you want to break this down.
Those
you want to break this down.
Making bank, by the way, if they're like serving food.
So there's a restaurant built into it.
It's the richest truck stop in
the
country.
There's a restaurant built into it. There is a Subway. There is a Taco Bell.
So people have jobs. You're giving people jobs.
There's the actual gas station
Yeah.
itself that's also huge. Then there's a place where you can buy truck parts, but it's more like I want to get some chrome like stacks. I want a new stereo system. I want
a new. You can install real fast.
Exactly. Shit you can put in your house cab.
Yeah.
And then you cut to the left.
Maybe
you take this tunnel.
Or something.
There are showers. There's a small movie theater.
Oh my God.
There is a doctor for general fucking physicianship. There's a dentist on site.
Okay.
And there is a place you can get your hair cut. And because it's the world's largest truck stop and it's relatively old, there's a little fucking tour with little plaques and tells you.
Club?
No, they don't. But
they
that's. I feel like that's what they should have.
I mean that, and like maybe a few therapists, like just because.
I didn't.
I mean, you're on the road for so long.
Yeah,
it might be in the medical wing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like the doctor.
maybe. I mean, a strip club is like more legal anyway, and it's just like it gives them time to just. It's like when they used to have cowboys, they had saloons and all that.
Yeah,
they're passing through, but they want to have a little fun, and they want to like. Have a little R&R, and they don't want to feel stressed out. And then the next day they can go back on their journy. It's the same thing. You're just driving a truck.
Well, that's probably why they have all those porn stores.
Strip clubs, guys.
You gotta be careful though. Like, does everyone know the YouTube personality Andrew Callahan?
I do not.
From Andrew Callahan and Channel 5 News, right? He's this guy who goes.
Wait, is he the dude that interviews regular people at random things?
Yeah.
I saw the Indy 500 videos. That dude's hilarious.
Yeah, he's great. So
actually, that's kind of some of the stuff I want to do.
On the street,
I want to do some beat on the streets with
him. Yeah, he's amazing. He's a great journalist and stuff like that. My story was going to be that he was doing this journalism kind of thing where he was just traveling the states, right? He quit his job and was just interviewing random people. And so he was hanging out at truck stops and things like that. And he was hanging out at one truck stop. And somebody just came up to him and was like, "Hey, you want to get in my van and go somewhere?" And he was like an excited 20-year-old, and he was like, "Yeah, sure. I'm sure I'm going to get a great interview out of this." And this guy, of course, was expecting you know,
something a lot.
a lot more
Is
than
you
just
a
an
lot
interview.
lizard?
Basically,
Are you
yeah, a lot lizard.
Yeah.
And at least the guy was like cool about it. He was like, oh, you shouldn't be hanging out at truck stops like
Yeah,
that.
I don't
Yeah,
care who you
because
are.
you know.
If
And he was
you're
like,
a
oh,
guy
well,
or a
then
girl,
can you
doesn't
take
matter.
me somewhere else? He's like, yeah, I'll take you wherever you need to go.
I'm
And then they
surprised
said goodbye,
he
and that was it.
Yeah,
So,
but no, that is the thing. I went to high school. I actually went to elementary school with this guy. I moved, and then conveniently enough, the guy his mom was dating lived in my town, so we went to high school
So
together
everyone-
too.
So incestuous.
Well, no, it was really random because like we went to elementary school, and then I went to junior high, and then Brian is like in high school with me all of a
my
sudden.
gosh.
So it was like really random. But his whole family was truckers. His dad and his grandpa, and that's what he
your,
ended
your
up
buddy
doing.
Brian, who was on the show first.
No,
episode?
Brian
Oh, not that
Reicke.
Brian.
Was it the ice
Brian
cream trucker?
Reicke,
Ice
no.
cream? Oh, okay. I've seen
But
that show. That's
he had
so
like a
creepy.
trucker family, and I learned a lot about like trucker life, lot lizards.
Yeah.
He had a CB in his car, so
I
we
thought
would
that
talk
was,
to like
I thought that
truckers
was
and
just
shit.
what they used in Sunny, that show Sunny, the episode.
No, but that's like a
But
real
I think
thing.
it is a real thing.
There are women
I
and
mean, that's
men that hang
literally
out
what
at truck
Showgirls
stops,
is,
and
yeah.
you pick them up. They're kind of
Yeah.
hitchhikers. They're kind of prostitutes. Pick them up. You kind
Yeah.
of fuck them.
You
Drop
ask
them off
for
at
ass
the
or
next. Yeah.
cash. Yeah, pretty much one of
But yeah,
those.
that's like a whole thing.
I always carry weed and cash on me for that situation.
That makes sense.
Because I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
I'm
Ass,
comfortable.
grass, or cash,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Like, I'll give you some gas money. That's about it. Like, when it depends on
Gas
who you
money
are.
is so expensive
Yeah.
now.
Well, nowadays.
Actually,
sure.
what's scarier is if like a family, like in a van, like the least of like suspicious people like in a van or like a couple, like they look like they have a kid or like their family. Those people you have to be scared of.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, there was a guy.
because I mean, truckers could actually. There's a lot of them that want to help you.
Yeah.
and they genuinely want.
Well,
And for them, it's like a nice little like distraction of like staring at the same fucking
exactly. It's
road
someone to talk
for
to.
hours. Like,
Because
yeah.
there are certain
They're
parts of the
lonely,
country that
yeah.
suck to drive through. I don't like.
and some of them have to do it. They have no other skills. That's what they did. They maybe didn't go to college.
I mean,
Whatever it is.
there's
like,
really
they
good
need
money.
to
There's
do it.
really good
They
money
get 30
in
an
trucking.
hour, then they get like health benefits.
And
they get
on
other
top of
shit.
that, if you
their
own your
family's
own
taken
rig,
care of, like if they die.
if you
everything.
own your own rig, you make significantly more money.
So how do you own your own rig? Like what's
I mean, you just,
Is
you
it
just
like
so you
just
really-
buy it
Is it
like
like
a
taxi
any.
drivers? Because taxi drivers can buy a taxi.
Yeah.
No, so
Ostensibly.
well, yeah.
Or
So
lease
it's
it or
okay. So
whatever.
what you can do is you get your CDL, which makes you qualified to drive a semi truck.
Isn't
And
it
then
like more
It's just
time
like
than
more
driving,
axles and things
regular
like that.
driving?
it's
Yeah.
well, it's more
It's like a couple
regulation.
months or something, right?
Yeah, well, because there's different things you need to learn. You need to learn how to back up a truck on certain
And weighing
distances.
and safety.
The
And
the
all that,
larger
and then, yeah, there's like a whole
the
accessory
larger
thing.
vehicle you need to
In fact,
drive, the more of a license you need to
And
get.
probably
Any,
knowing the parts of
So-
the truck.
So I went
Sure.
to Johnsburg High School.
Yeah.
I went to Johnsburg High School in Johnsburg, Illinois. Super small fucking high school. Wasn't built in the till the 70s, and the town used to have to whatever. I was part of the largest graduating class of like I think 200 and something or 190
Oh,
something.
geez. Okay.
But that's where I was in high school after we moved out of the city. But my school provided the number one in the state any sort of mechanics that you could do, and like top 5 in the country. We
Interesting.
offered
So, like,
welding.
it's almost like trade school.
Yeah, well, yeah. So
adjacent, I guess.
so basically,
yeah.
from freshman up, you could take these classes. We had welding, we had shop, we had like manufacturing classes where you could
I
learn
wish
these.
I did shop.
And
I
we
really
had
wish I
a
did shop.
we had
I
a
can't build
three
anything.
three garage dock. So if I just went to Autos One, which was motorcycle engines and lawnmower engines. And I did have a lawnmower in high school that I took the blade out and disabled.
Oh,
and
was
used,
it the one that you drive?
yeah, and I would
Okay,
use
yeah.
it as a cruiser.
I was like, yeah, because I was thinking, if
and
it
I-
has wheels, it's technically like a
and it
vehicle
was
then.
old as shit, but you didn't need a
I always
license
wanted
to
to ride
operate.
those too, man. I never got those.
But it was old, so I rebuilt the carburetor on it because we went over carburetor engines, and I have this little like fucking thing I would cruise on. It maybe went 5 miles an hour, but I mean I would like drive it
You're
to my
like going
buddies.
down the
Super
highway.
awesome.
No, their fucking highway was like so far away. But
Yeah, but have you ever seen those YouTube videos where like farmers are on the
Yeah.
highway? Like it's just like, man, you're like, no, you trying
but
too hard.
but our teacher had our school had a contract with like I want to say like Napa or AutoZone or something. So if there was a part on
Get
your
in
car,
the zone, AutoZone.
if you had a part that you needed for your car, something worked on, the teacher
had
was
it.
like, "Hey, we'll order the part at school cost. You pay for the cost of the part. We make a class around it, and we
Interesting.
work on your car." But because we had this 3-dock garage and all of this shit,
Mhm.
my high school offered CDL certification. I think it's one of the only ones in the state that offered that. So you could get your CDL there. they had their own semi truck.
That's cool.
So once you get your CDL and your CDL certification,
That's when you can drive around.
You can drive those trucks,
rental, yeah.
and you can do independent contracting work for a company and all that stuff. But if you save up enough money, you basically go to like a dealership. You could buy your own rig. At that point in time,
how much would that even be?
Oh, it's expensive as fuck.
I mean, I don't know
it's not,
prices.
well, it's not like buying a regular car.
But
so
like,
we're talking.
I mean, I'm sure you'd make the money back really fast.
Well, you do because you have
your buy it for you already have a schedule.
When you work for a company, you do use their rig, so I think you do pay some sort of rental fee for the vehicle, and then you have to cover certain sort of gas, and they only give you blah 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 per mile. So you're paying for company time as well as them paying you.
Yeah,
you're using
so it's
their
kind
equipment.
of like everyone wins.
So
yeah.
when you have your own rig, you don't have to pay that rig rental fee and all that stuff.
But do you have to get like a driver's insurance? I mean, do you have to have like insurance?
Well, in general, you have to have insurance.
Yeah, so
that's how it works.
That's what you have to do on your own.
You're 15 minutes.
Yeah, you have to do it. You have to do it on your own.
You're required to be insured more than just
it's just like having your car.
Well, yeah, but it's like kind of more than that because like if you commit an accident with a semi, it's not like, oh, we got into a fender bender, I sideswiped you.
It's always disastrous.
It's like I crumbled your fucking fit and you're dead kind of stuff.
Or you're lucky that you just tip over.
And then they also have like deadlines and stuff. So like trucker, do you know what trucker bombs are?
Yeah.
Where they like pee in bottles and just throw them out. Like they can't just stop all the time. They have deadlines, so they'll be like.
I wouldn't know how that would feel. I feel like if you're a female, you probably have to wear a diaper.
Have you? I mean, why not wear there's a lot of
why not wear a diaper? I'm not saying that there aren't. It's just that like it would be a little harder to like do that. Right? I feel like if you're skilled enough, if you're a man, you can pee while you're driving.
Oh, it'd be way harder.
But you would need your hands anyway to like switch gear. I feel like there's more gears. There's more things to like.
Well, no, you actually they do.
Is it more just like
you can do manual? You can do automatic. There is.
I always thought they were just all manual.
No, you can get automatic, and I think the first automatic manual cars that existed were trucks because there are times where you do need to shift. You need to like shift into lower gears. Like when you're going up hills, you need to be in lower gears.
Maybe if you had one of those things for women that you could pee into, like those.
You know they do
those things that I don't know what they're called, but it's like like a cone or something.
I do know some guys rig certain things like that. Has anyone ever seen the movie Black Dog?
No.
Okay, so it's a '90s Patrick Swayze movie about a trucker. He accidentally hits a guy while driving in long hours, falling asleep on the road. Goes to prison, comes out, tries to straighten out his life, gets caught up in like shit that he has no choice, but he has to do blah 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 blah. But Black
because
Dog.
Because he's Patrick Swayze.
But Black Dog is actually a real thing that affects truckers. My buddy told me about it, and that's why we watched the movie together. But Black Dog is when you have so many hours on the roads and you're really exhausted and you're really tired, and all that stuff. You do hallucinate, and like Black Dog's an occurrence. You see a black animal, dog-like figure running at you, causing you to swerve and stuff like that.
Jesus. I don't like shadow people.
So there's like a whole like movie about it that's like, it's not really the basis of the movie, but it's like the basis around
Patrick Swayze, I'll watch it.
It's an awesome movie.
I've seen everything. I've seen Roadhouse and like Ghost and like
So all right, I'm trying. I bought Ghost. I bought Ghost on Blu-ray.
Should we start asking people instead of Nicolas Cage? Should we ask what they think about Patrick Swayze?
I'm down for that.
Should we move on to the Patrick Swayze?
Patrick Swayze.
Or should we go alphabetical?
Actually, said one of the I want to say it's not only the most manliest thing that anyone has probably ever said, but the most cowboy thing anyone ever said. So when Patrick Swayze had cancer,
besides John Wayne, who was literally a cowboy like his whole career.
He wasn't literally. He was in acting.
So check this out. So Patrick Swayze,
he's a real cowboy, okay.
So Patrick Swayze found out he had cancer, and it was basically it was non-redeemable.
He was fucked.
He was fucked, and like in an interview, they were just like. Along the line of questioning was, are you going to quit smoking since you found out you had cancer?
It was the drinking, really, that killed him. Right?
His exact response is, "Why would I already have cancer?" And I'm like, that's the most. That's like the.
If anything, I'll smoke 2 packs a day.
Like famous last words. Like that's the most cowboy shit you could say. I'm gonna die anyways. Why the fuck stop?
I mean, I would. I mean, even if I was just old, I'm gonna do everything. I don't give a fuck because if I don't jump in front of traffic first or die like. Young, it's like no, I don't want to be. I mean, for me, I'm that person that I still have time to decide. I mean, to adopt a child, to do adoption like that option because I don't want to have children.
You don't
physically. I don't want to do that.
Like you don't want to birth a child, but you're still down to raise a child.
But I'm still down to raise a child.
I got you.
I like if they're like they start out like they're grade school, like 5 years old. Their parents died. Something happened. Like
something horrific.
It sounds terrible, but like I don't want to deal with babies. I like kids are cool because kids are like young and they love everything. Everything's new. They want to learn. Like you could teach them values like younger and earlier.
Like that's more admirable. I feel like
I'm gonna say pick your religion, pick a job, pick a career. As long as you're out of here by 19, that's all I need. All I need you to do is just stay alive.
Yeah.
Like don't talk.
Do
to
the bare
strangers.
minimum. Be able to survive in
Yeah,
society.
fuck politeness. Like if you feel like a bad vibes, listen to your gut. All of that. Like all
I
of
feel
this
like
stuff
it's
that's
more admirable to adopt.
Just letting them be their
child.
own person, and they know that. They know you're not their parent.
Yeah.
They know you're taking them in. Kids are smart as fuck. Like they know that they're not like you're not my mom. My mom and dad are dead, or whatever. They don't love me, or whatever it is. Like I'm just gonna say, hey, you don't have to call me mom. You just call me by my name. It's fine. Like,
speaking of things like that,
we're all individuals. This,
I've been watching the recent season of The Boys. And part of the side story is one of the characters doesn't want to expose his daughter to superheroes, but he also doesn't want to tell her the truth.
Yeah, that he is a superhero?
No, that they're actually terrible people and
that
they cause harm and all that
stuff. It's like Watchmen.
But in general, I was just thinking there's so many secrets that happen in life where parents want to I want to protect you, so I'm not telling you.
But you're hurting them in the
process.
And
later in life they tend to find out and it kind of fucks them up.
I mean, I learned about some really crazy fucked up shit when I was young, and I think I repressed a lot.
I learned a crazy shit when I was in high school, and after my grandmother died, and I feel like the best time to tell a child anything is right from the get-go when they pseudo understand.
Yeah, I think
because then you explain it to them as a child.
Double digits, I think it's.
You know what I mean? You
explain it. 10 is a good ripe age for you're kind of a preteen, and you're kind of angsty.
You have a cognitive understanding of things, but you still don't know shit.
You're not quite in. Yeah, you're just kind of in between teen and child, but especially if it's something that has to do with their mental health or their family, hereditary,
just
issues,
everything,
whatever. Yeah,
I feel like that's a good time because it's because you have a semi-understanding and a lack of understanding. You can kind of come to terms into it the way you can understand it.
I'd say
then as you grow up, it kind of becomes normal as opposed to a shocking event.
And not desensitized, but just more okay, this is what's going on in the world. But that's partly why, I mean, one of my friends had told me you think you don't want to have kids because you don't want to expose them to the bad shit. But sometimes that's why people do it, because they want to encourage their children hey, life is shitty right now.
I mean, in general, those are...
you basically can raise them how animals raise their babies in the wild. You're born, now we have to be, if you're prey, you're fucked. You have to keep it moving, you have to survive. If you're a predator, maybe there's not any food around, you might die. Everyone's fucked. Not any animal is the best or has it the best. So humans, we're all different by our creed and our religion and our ethnicity, but we all have the same blood. We all have the same heart.
So I feel
everything's the same.
I feel like that's totally true. I feel like growing up in hardship is better for your character, because then you kind of get to know the real world.
Yeah, and you become more empathetic with others.
And also, it doesn't shield you from the real world. Some people will raise their kids and shield them, and then they'll step into the real world and have no way to acclimate. They'll be this is not the world I know, and unfortunately, that's the world that exists.
Yeah. I have a friend who's in his 50s, and I went to this festival. I played at this festival, and we were using his land to throw the festival, and he was talking to us, and he was just I've been in the military, and I've been all over the world, and I'm just really jaded now, and I don't care about anybody. He's I care about people, but fuck everybody.
I completely understand.
He's I love that. He's I'm jaded as fuck, and he's you're young, you're not jaded. And I was I'm a little bitter, I guess, but I'm very I wake up in the morning, I don't have this negative thought. I don't like when people are too negative, or they don't have a filter, and they say negative things all the time. They point out things that we don't need to talk about that right now.
Yeah,
we just need to be in the moment, live in the moment. You're ruining my buzz. You're ruining my life. Stop doing that.
Yeah. Because
I'm not an empath, but I react a lot to vibes. I don't see ghosts. I don't see auras. I see vibes. I feel them. I listen to my gut. It's why I'm still alive, because of politeness. If someone makes you feel weird and maybe they're a kind person or they're a pretty good person, like it's okay to not to feel that way.
Yeah.
It's okay to leave the room. It's okay to say, hey, I'm going to separate myself from the situation. And maybe it's because it could have been how you were feeling earlier in the day or the circumstances or where you are.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
I like to be, I barely, you guys, I barely leave my apartment. I leave my apartment
I go to work
when I know I have at least 5 friends that I'm going to meet up with, because it's hard for me to go to a place where they're like, yeah, let's meet here. And then I'm like, I'm going to wait till they're there first. Because sometimes there's one person I know, and then I just feel like everyone's watching like me. And not because I want them to watch me. But because,
they just are.
Yeah, they just are. People just, especially if you're in a small space, people tend to wander. A lot of people, I'm a people watcher myself. So other people are watching you. And it's like all the world's a stage. Like whatever you do, people see that kind of stuff. And I'm learning how to be more observant. I like to see like what people are doing. Sometimes you're just like, oh yeah, I'm in on that now. Like I see what you're doing over there. So people see you and watch you. So I get more anxiety where it's like outside anxiety, like external. But yeah, I mean that's the only time I leave my apartment now.
I feel like a lot more people today are more oblivious.
Mm-hmm. I used to be that way. Now I'm not.
There's so many distractions nowadays. Like I mean, every generation had like their distraction. When radio first came out, when television first came out, and all that stuff. But we grew up in like a weird bracket when like Discmans and like things like that started becoming a thing. Like portable TVs were already a thing.
Personal media.
Personal media. But personal media. Like what I remember the first smartphones and like the internet becoming a thing and us having like CD players. And I remember all the time like I would be like, don't listen to that while you walk. Keep your head up. Like you don't want to not hear around you. But it's like at no point in time is nobody not like walking like just on their phone or like just with ear pods and like
people
criticize.
I only do that if
and it's kind of crazy too, like how acclimated the obliviousness. I do still regularly say that like social network is the antisocial network.
I only pretend to be on my phone if like someone's kind of freaking me out a little bit. Like, I'm just like, I'll just pretend to be talking, but I'll catch myself looking down when I walk. But I don't. If I'm crossing the street or if I'm walking somewhere where I don't know where I am, I don't do that. It's just common sense.
See, I look down when I'm on my
You're an animal. You need to have your instinct. You need to have all senses like aware. And even when I so no one knows this obviously, but when I left my phone at Jimmy's last week, I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of not
just being away from it.
Yeah, and I knew where I was supposed to be. I was with the people I needed to be. I knew what was my upcoming gig was, going to be the next day. Like I was okay. It was the perfect time to lose my phone or leave my phone because I wasn't expecting anyone to contact me, and even if they did, like, okay, like I was able to go on my computer and just text people from there. But only people that have iPhones, obviously, because Apple's very exclusive.
They are.
They don't care. They don't care about that. Like if you try and use the iMessage on your laptop or your iMac desktop, it won't let you text anyone with a Samsung or Android. It's only your contacts with an Apple phone. So it's kind of frustrating. So I would just go on Facebook or Instagram and just get a hold of people there. But it's kind of nice to unplug. I mean, when I went to Sanibel Island, I didn't use my phone barely. I barely used it. I just used it to like maybe take photos or video, and that was it. Or like navigate. I used like literally 2 things. I used my email, my my maps, and like my camera option. That was it. It was so nice to just like unplug. And then when I finally got home, I was like, oh, I have like 40. I have 40 text messages that I haven't read.
So for a year, I didn't have a cell phone. It was like it was a whole year, and there was
what happened? Why do you have a cell phone?
So it's a long story, but basically I ended up losing my apartment. I was couch surfing. My girlfriend at the time had just left the country because her visa expired. And I still wanted to
you were just alone in a bum.
And I still wanted to keep in contact with her. So I called her. And of course, this was back when like...
Did everyone have flip phones?
Smartphones were still a thing. No, mine was a slide. It was a slide.
I had a slide.
But it was back when
Yeah.
like right
I
when
miss
smartphones were a
pressing
thing,
buttons.
or you had to actually like pay for internet browser service.
Mhm.
So I called her, and of course it was before worldwide coverage and all that stuff. And my
Yeah.
bill was like 500 and something, and I had like
Jesus.
I had like a part-time job, and I was like in college. So I was
Like every minute is like $4.
I was like, I'm just not gonna pay it. So they shut off my phone, of course.
Of course. You knew
And
you knew what was gonna happen.
And I was living with my grandma at the time and couch surfing. She had a house phone. So
was it rotary phone or just a regular?
No, it was just a regular touch tone. But Nate, like when we'd hang out, he would call me, and and I did live that early 90s childhood life that I had, where I was like, hey, you want to hang out? Cool. Where are we meeting? We're meeting here. All right, I will be there at this time. Give me a 15-minute leeway.
Yeah.
And I would be like, cool, I need to leave at this time because I have to meet Nate between like 7 and 7:15.
To get there. Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. And I did that for like a year. If I came home, my grandma or dad would be like, hey, someone left any other handwritten message.
They're like, your friend left. Like, you have too many friends, Jimmy.
And
everyone keeps calling every day.
And it helped me start remembering actual phone numbers again. And I did have a couple of numbers back in my head.
That's the thing. I do remember phone numbers. I just didn't know your number long enough to
remember it.
To have to remember it.
All the numbers
but
I know.
Now Matthew has your number, so if something happens to my phone,
I know my
phone
number.
I can just call you on his number, his phone. You know what was the easiest is I was able to get into his Facebook no problem. Because I actually couldn't get into my Facebook on any of my devices, and I'm like, God damn it! It wants to send a code to my phone, and I don't have my phone. And like, you can't use any of these, and then like, you have to answer all these security questions, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, so I ended up going on Matthew's phone, and I went on Facebook, and then I just went on the page and found the number. And I was like, man, I could have just done this like 8 hours ago.
Speaking of security questions, so I bank with this really awesome credit union. They have 2 locations in the state, and that's it. They do everything digital, which is really nice. I have savings with them. They have really good interest rates, and I just kind of dump and forget. Like there's barely any ATMs anywhere. I don't even use my card, but I log in once in a blue moon. I log in after I get my tax return because I dump half my tax return there. Every time I get a lump sum, I just like boop transfer. But I want to say 4 or 5 times a year I log in, right? I log in and it's always recognizing my phone as a brand new device, even though I've logged in before. And it asks me security questions, and you pick 5 security questions.
Yeah, it has to be like
Every time I log in and it asks my security questions, it asks all the questions that are not the 5 that I chose that I never gave an answer for. So, and you can only refresh 3 times before it locks your account.
And then you're locked out for like an hour or 45 minutes or something.
No, I have to do an email and do a password reset and then call the company and have them reset. And then I have to reset my fucking security questions.
I understand like that they need to keep you safe. But at the same time, it's just so it's over the top.
Well, the security is dope. It just pisses me off.
I like it for email. I don't care if it's my Instagram. Everything I have on my social media, I have backed up. Like if it gets shut down, whatever. But your email, like it's just
bank stuff is different. You don't want to get left at a bank.
It was like,
then they're reading your email.
It's always super annoying though, because the other week I was like, oh, let me see whatever. I got an email from them saying the interest rate went back up. So I log in, have to reset my password. I reset my 5 questions, and then I go to log in with my new password. And of course, it has to do the don't recognize the thing, go security questions. I
didn't understand the question.
All 3 that I refreshed was I literally did not just pick this when I picked my 5 questions. It was like, who is your... It was like, what street did you grow up on? And I was like, I didn't do that one.
I didn't grow up at all. I never grew up.
They still know the answer, and they still want your answer.
They know the answer.
What's your porn star name? Like, that would be great. Like,
I feel like my porn star name would still be my station.
What if you could just customize your own?
I wish you could. Yeah. I have been on something where it does allow you to customize your questions.
Yourself, not a computer asking you, because I'm sure if someone knows you enough, they could just totally hack into your shit.
Some places do have a enter your own question, enter your own answer.
Really?
Yeah, I've done it on a couple of things.
Oh, I think AOL used to do that, and then also I think Facebook did it too. But
have you guys been getting a lot of these tech scams lately?
I used to, but I use Robo Killer. So
yeah, it gets rid.
I don't deal with phone numbers. I don't know. I use Robo. Well, no, I've been getting texts from random offers, but obviously they're fucking scams.
I use Robo Killer, so I don't have to see or hear or anything. I mean, it's always RoboKiller's awesome. It's made by Trilogy Media, and they're people who like find scammers on the internet.
Oh, I
They,
love
They go
watching
as
those
far as
videos.
like flying to them and like so they made RoboKiller, which like it's fun because the app when you look on the app it like says like you have 1,000 text messages like from this month or like it'll show you everything and then you can make like the outgoing message funny or like mean or just like no service number or like
So Google offers a
sometimes
call
they leave
screener.
messages which is great but sometimes they don't.
Google offers a call screener. So when a scam number is calling you, I can hit call screener and it gives an automated message like, hey, this conversation is being recorded. Could you blah, 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 blah. And usually they either hang up or
because they're usually going to record you anyway.
Or the voice goes off.
Yeah.
And it'll give me the option to be like, oh, let them know to remove me from the call list and all that stuff.
Yeah, sometimes I do call people back and I'm like, just remove me from the mail list.
Do you know you can
and they
actually
say the
get
whole
paid
intro.
from that?
You can?
Okay, so there is like some weird law
Well, then
about...
I'm owed some money then.
So there's a weird law
because they would call me even if I told them. Like,
there's a weird law about being called for certain like sales calls or whatever from those whatever companies or whatever, where like you are owed compensation if you have like an unlisted number or you requested to be off or that you're not supposed to be on these like call sheets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're supposed to do is you need to get the company name and you need to get the address. And then you need to send them a letter.
Of how many times they call you?
Basically a statement.
Like how many minutes or whatever?
Statement of like, hey, you've persisted and contacted me, blah, 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 blah.
Even after you said no.
But there's like a compensation or whatever that you're owed based on how they contacted you and what they're
contacting you for. Maybe I should just let more people call me and then... Maybe I should deactivate my RoboKiller.
Right.
And I'm like, hey, I called you because it was usually like a car insurance company.
Oh yeah,
they always want to sell you insurance or whatever, and I'm like, I have insurance. Like I know I've called them 3 times or spoken to them 3 times where I said, do not call me anymore. Put me on the no call list, please. But it's always a new representative and. Apparently, they don't get them like they don't pass notes to each other.
Oh no! I mean,
or maybe there's a big turnaround.
So exactly. So me and him used to work for a company.
Maybe they fire and hire a lot. So
it's not even that. We both used to work for a multi-division consulting firm, second rated consulting firm in the country. And the way that leads work is off of public records and public information. And we recycle those leads. And if I couldn't make that fucking sale, that lead is going to show up again in someone else's call sheet. Because someone eventually is going to make that sale kind of mentality.
It's not personal to you. It's just your robot.
Exactly.
Right. And they just spread it around like it's some
STD. You're reading a
exactly. And it goes from every department and all that stuff. And they have all the information and they can pull up public records and all that stuff.
I was on the call.
So they don't know.
I was on a sales call with someone else from my same department on the same sales call with the same company. They're like, "What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
stop fucking calling here."
Your leads were worse than my department's leads
bad.
until you transferred to my department.
Oh my god, I can't right now. I always wonder what it'd be like to we should try to find someone to talk to that has a telemarketing job.
Man,
we literally did.
Yeah, it was.
we literally sold consulting to.
I was there for 2 months. Jim was there longer.
Our requirements were.
So did you get when you had leads, did you get an extra commission on top of your hourly rate?
And there was a lot of money on top of it. This one woman we worked with.
Talk about Safranic.
Yeah, we'll just call her Safranic. She would clear 150, 200,000 a year in commissions and stuff like that. There were ballers.
I know I would be good at it, but I just would be bored.
But it was fucking crazy because you go to his department, right? And there would be dudes that be rolling in money. We're talking $90,000, $150,000 a year, smoking crack in the parking lot on their lunch break, and then
crushing up pills, snorting them, landing a sale.
I mean, Matthew used to have a pizza delivery job where he knows that everyone was just basically the job to buy drugs.
Oh yeah, no,
just doing in their car.
We had a department called
outside the restaurant.
We had a cold calling department, so our company hired everyone and based
I did it just for beer money, but they like the little harder stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's fucking wild.
Jesus, man. I mean, you don't make that much. I mean, I guess if you're doing it every day, if you're
it was a 5-day a week, 8:30 to 5 or 6 p.m.
And he always
had
he was if no one came to the door for pizza, he's like, we just get a free pizza then.
It was a bunch of dudes from the 80s who just didn't want to retire.
Who never grew out of the 80s. Yeah. They just stayed. They're stuck in time.
and then all the young kids who thought they could make a quick buck. And some people were really good.
Oh, yeah.
I was not.
The
I was not
boss
at
of
all.
our department.
It's either kids that are like raising their family because they're like parents suck,
So the
or,
two
like,
the two guys that were ahead of the department that me and Nate eventually both worked for at the same time. One of them was a stand-up comedian who was just a baller at sales that made a shitload of money, and the other guy was the front man of a very fucking big metal band. Like they were fucking.
So he said.
They were no. I looked up his band at one point in time, and they did like national tours, and they made a lot of money. And then he was actually going to replace the singer of this other band. They offered him the job, and he started working for this company as a way of making pocket cash for the band. And he was just way more capitalist than he cared about the music. So he found out how much money he could make, and I was like, "Bro, why did you quit music?" And he was like, "Because I fucking made baller cash here." And
so you're not an artist.
So yeah, he didn't care about the music. He cared about the money.
Yeah.
So eventually,
he could just be an agent.
Him and the other dude pitched it to the president about opening their own department, which they did. Mm-hmm. They had a genius idea, a genius business model, something that actually would have been really awesome for the development of a business.
Why didn't they go through with it?
Oh, they did.
Okay.
But after you go through with it and going through this awesome seminar that breaks down your the way that you run a business based on what placement you were born, what your religious value is, where you were grown up, and what your in general values were, and why you hire people, why you run your business your way in an outside look perspective, they would immediately sell you on consulting. So it'd be this really awesome idea.
Yeah, that's a rub.
And then they would be like, "Oh, this is why you have a bunch of problems. You need to commission like these three dudes."
Do what we want you to do you're just gonna sit in a cubicle and
But our department did a little shadier. Not only like when he first worked in inside sales, it was straight consulting. We got you to pay for a seminar for you and your employees per employee.
Oh,
that had a great idea.
Okay. You make money off of them.
Then sold you into consulting.
That sounds like a pyramid scheme.
It was all.
It sounds like
they were all a big
is this
scam.
multi-level marketing?
There was pictures in the front lobby of like the owner of the company shaking hands with like George W. Bush and Donald Trump and stuff like that. So like you knew where their allegiances.
Yeah.
And, like.
They play favorites, so whoever was doing like the best or making.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, you got like bonuses based off.
Yeah. They took you out to like Coke Mountain.
Yeah, they had a Coke room and a prostitution.
Did they ever just shit on the people who were doing really bad?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes, but how does that improve?
So that's the exact environment we worked in. It wasn't that company, but that's the exact environment.
I mean, the big
and they were like when we were doing New York, like I remember Tom.
What was the one with Jonah Hill where he played
that's
Wolf of Wall Street.
No, it wasn't Wolf of Wall Street. That was Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah, but he was in it too. He was literally the leading. He was the leading role.
He was in it. Yeah,
he was the leading role.
Jonah Hill was also in
Jonah
Wolf of Wall
in that
Street. Yes,
movie.
he was.
No.
Yes, he was.
No.
He's the supporting actor in that movie.
Megan, I bet you $10.
No, it was two guys, and they were college guys. They were college.
Talking about the dudes that were armed.
Oh, are you talking about?
No, yeah, you're right. They were selling. Yeah, they were.
Okay. Yeah, they weren't in college. They were best friends.
But it was still kind of similar, though.
It is kind of similar. Yeah, it's a bunch of skeezy businesses.
One of them was like more money hungry, and the other one was like, I just want to help people.
Yeah.
It's like
by selling guns.
Well, it's like I mean, it's just one guy was kind of dumb, and he believed this stupid sociopathic friend. Yeah. I would just be like, no, bro. Like you just give me the runaround. Like especially when you know he's gonna throw you under the bus. Like that's I mean, when they fuck over people, if you see your friends fucking over people left and right, you're not safe. I'm sorry, you just aren't. It's a matter of time.
It was a wild summer job, I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
it was wild.
It was.
Met a lot of characters.
A lot of characters. Yeah, no, they had a coke room and a prostitute room for high top salesmen.
That's pretty.
In fact, one of the.
What if they just want a nice rosé and like a good book?
It wasn't that kind of company. No, it definitely was.
It was like you are killing yourself to get the biggest sale you possibly can, or we don't give a fuck about you.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have a family, we don't give a fuck about that.
It was high pressure sales.
There was like even the list of like the top sellers of the week or the month or whatever.
It would always change.
And
depending on the week,
sure. One guy that kind of
and there was favoritism too. Like there was a guy in our department who rolled in at like 10 in the morning, ordered breakfast, worked, left at 3. No one said anything because he did his job. And people would be like, why does he get to go home? And he'd be like, when you can fucking make 10 sales in a day, you can come in when you want.
Yeah,
you're talking about that older dude who was just real sly.
So this show, I'm not going to say his name because
I don't remember his name.
No, he was selling coke through all the departments, and he was doing it through
He was the plug.
his extension.
He was the plug, yeah.
And
it's the same guy.
SWAT raided the building because of that.
They like saw us.
They had a wire. No,
like
well,
they're following.
2
him.
months
so the
after I left.
Cisco
Somebody
system,
snitched.
the
Somebody
Cisco
snitched,
system records everything,
Snitches get stitches. Okay,
and there
I'm
was a
sorry.
wiretap. So they raided the building, and when they raided the building just for this one guy, they found the coke room and the payoffs for prostitutes. And
Did
like,
the prostitutes live there?
no, there was a room for it.
Okay,
There was a
I
room.
Like that would be a word.
There was a room they took you in for you to
Oh
blow
my
lines and
God.
fuck girls.
So you just bring your own girl and you're
Like that just was a thing.
BYOB.
What is it? One of the senior VPs was the vice
You gotta check
president's
IDs at the door.
fiance, and
Check
she didn't
IDs
do
at the
anything
door.
but walk around and look
Check
hot.
IDs at the door though, 'cause that'll get you more like.
I'm pretty sure this company would not have cared about that. Tell you
That's
that
what I'm saying.
now.
Like that's just like another.
In
way
fact,
to add.
when I first started at the company, they had just changed their name because they had to pay out millions of dollars in sexual harassments and sexual assault lawsuits.
I mean, there were also just regular businesses that were like that too. Like
It just was a thing.
It just was a thing. Like you, secretary.
I mean, it still is a
If
thing.
you
I
hired
don't
a
think
secretary, she was also your call girl or your like mistress or something. Like there were like buildings that like office buildings back in like I think it was the 60s or 70s or something. They just had a room where it was like a bed was in there.
Yeah,
and it
just
was
what
like,
it was.
and it was just like an accounting firm or like a law firm, and you're like, what? These people are supposed to be represent. Well, maybe they're not the ones that represent good people. They're the ones that represent shitty people. He wrote the time in there too.
He wrote the time in the dick.
Yeah, that's pretty creative. You're changing it up.
Hey,
over
thanks.
there.
Yeah, I can put numbers
I
on
really
dicks.
How would
You
you
should-
feel about
I
splitting
think you
a
should
cigarette?
add it. I think you should add a boob card though. I
You
mean,
should
if
do a
I-
boob card.
Yeah, if I'm hosting or we have a female host or a female guest.
I
or
think
co-host,
genitalia
we
should
should
just
do the
be
dick one for the first one,
Yeah.
and then the boob one
For
'cause,
the half-hour
a
mark.
A vagina might be a little
no.
too much
We should
for
make the
some people, but
we
yeah.
should make all
I don't know
genitals
if
the
he, I don't know if
designated
he can
time
draw a
cards.
vagina. That's what I'm saying. Boobs might be.
Whoa!
Well, no one's
I
asking him.
didn't say you couldn't. I said I don't know. I
No
don't
one-
know
no
your
one's-
talents. I
No
don't
one's
know.
asking him to make a diagram of labias,
I
but
mean,
he
you
can make a
can.
triangle
I'd
with a
like
little
to know
bit of
what he knows. I'd like to know you guys know where things are.
All I know is
That's
boob.
always
Well,
good.
his frame of reference is his soon-to-be
I mean,
wife. I don't think
sometimes-
we want that as a
Sometimes
public picture.
Sometimes I forget, so it's okay. It's okay.
So that's-
there you go. Those are good. They're even. Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, unrealistic boobs.
Yeah, they're unrealistic because they're even.
Because they're
One is
even.
always slightly larger.
Yeah. You know what's funny is my friends say like their right one is bigger. They always say like your dominant one, like whatever your dominant hand. But
I thought you were gonna say like your dominant tits.
Well, it is, but like
Whichever
but
one
my
beats the
left
other one up.
is slightly bigger, and it's because
Are you
your heart
left-handed?
is on your left side,
That kind of
and
makes
your
sense.
blood there's more blood pumping on that side. So I was just like, what? Why?
And a majority of
why-
men are
I'm like-
right-handed,
I'm
and
like,
they're probably
how-
going to cop
how
a
are
feel
we
on the
not
right
friends-
side.
How are we friends then if your right boob's bigger? That's not fair. And it honestly didn't start happening until like I turned 30. Really, like my body changes. Even every period is different. Like
Well, your body
is
always
different.
constantly changes.
You shed everything every 7 years, like your eyes, your nails, like everything. So, I mean, it kind of sucks a little bit. Like I have to wear like just the bralette things or sports bras or whatever. I don't wear the wire. I haven't worn wire bras in forever. They're not good for you.
Don't they poke you?
They poke me. They hurt. They also aren't good. They actually been known to be in studies like one of the causes or one of the it aggravates your boobs in a way where like it could further get create more. You could get breast cancer, like or
Okay.
breast cancer could be
Like it'll like create some sort of knot that'll eventually
there's
become
no
like cyst
circulation.
or something.
There's no circulation, so there's more like just fat and cartilage, and there's muscle. There's your pecs. Everyone
Yeah.
has that, but the rest is just fat and cartilage and veins or whatever. But that's in tissue. So like when you're trying to find when you're doing like a lump check and everything, you go right from on the outside of your armpit all the way to like the middle of your chest. So like when it gets bigger, and when it was starting to do that, it hurt a lot, like all the time, like for a week. It hurt
Well, yeah,
a
your
lot.
skin's like expanding.
Yeah, and it hurt so much. So like when people even would just hug me, I'm like, ugh, like it hurt. So I went to the doctor and I was like really scared, of course, because you don't want to have cancer when you're a female, and because I'm part African American women are more prone to heart attacks, more prone to diabetes, more prone to breast cancer, leukemia, like all these things. There's just a shit ton of things that we have more than other. But because I mix, I kind of it's just like whatever you get out of the bag.
Yeah, no, I got you.
I could have anything.
You know,
so I thought that's what it was, and she was touching it, and she's like, well, usually if it's cancer, it hurts in one area, but it only hurts when you touch it. So because it could be a mass where it's very, very, I don't know, it's like mastitized or something, where like it's starting to harden. So like imagine like a marble in your body. So like
Damn,
that sounds terrible.
And it hurts. But then there's also cysts. You have them. Men can have them. Women can have them. There's benign, and then there's malignant ones. Everyone has cysts. You actually like expel them. Like you just have them.
Sure.
So I was so scared, and I was like, oh my god, like I don't want to like. She did a mammogram. Everything was great, and she's like, your boob's just getting bigger. It's just changing, and I'm like, why? And she's like, because you're older. You're getting older, and it should just do a cold compress. You'll be fine. And it was fine, but it was the only time that ever happened. It was terrifying. Like I just sitting here like this, it hurt. It was just, it's scary.
Puberty too.
I mean, anything I can't see it. It's the inside of your body. Anything you can't see is terrifying. You don't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I don't know where I was going with that.
Any advice for someone who might be going through that same thing right now? Any advice?
I would just say go get your pap smear every 6 months. Once you turn 30, get your mammograms. They won't let you do it younger. Like when you're 25, your brain's developing. Your body's like may still be athletic. Your body's just really young. You're young.
But you're kind of.
It's really rare that you can have breast cancer before 30. It's very rare. You're more likely to get ovarian cancer or brain cancer or leukemia.
Yeah.
But if you're 30, like your body, you should be having kids now. Like this is like it. Like 36 is it. I'm at the last leg of the
race.
So it's like, and sometimes for women, if they have kids, sometimes it prevents them from getting breast cancer because they lactate and they breastfeed.
That makes sense.
So that's why a lot of women, they say sometimes when they have breast cancer, it is mostly genetic. But if you have, or it can be from deodorant or like outside sources or anything, but like you're more likely to get it if it's like actually genetic, like diabetes or heart disease or anything like that. It's the same thing. So get your pap smear every 6 months, get your mammogram when you turn 30, and you'll be fine. And bring a friend or family. Do not go alone. It's terrifying to go alone.
I think it's funny that there's age brackets for specifically men and women for certain things.
Yeah. Oh, and I have the HPV shot too. I had that when I was 13.
Yeah.
Because like then it prevents you from getting cancer.
HPV cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same for men too. But when I got the vaccine, I think they just came out with that.
Yeah.
I was like 13, and it was like the new medical breakthrough where they were like, oh, you can have HPV. Like all cancer cells are dormant. So
yeah.
It's
rather they become active and
so anything that it's an outside source or your hormones or something, a blood vessel changes, whatever the fuck it is. Like your body's like, oh, hey, you're cancer now. Like good luck. That's why sometimes people can do radiation or just getting it cut out.
So this is fucking crazy. So I'm like at work, and I'm not going to name any names because of the circumstances of the situation, but one of the people I work with, like in the middle of the shift, she's like, hey, I just got a call from my sister. Her dad just died. They both have different fathers, same mothers. Mm-hmm. Her dad just died, and I was like, well, it's fucking brutal because my mom died, so I know that kind of hurt. Mm-hmm. And like the setup is, and this is fucking brutal. Her sister, whose dad just died, is getting married next month, and like 2 months ago, they find out her dad has cancer, and they're gonna start chemo.
Did he get married already?
No, she is getting married.
Oh, she's getting married
next month.
Next month, yeah. So she wants to keep him alive. Basically.
No, but he just finds out he has cancer, and they're just about to start chemo. And then boom, like they don't even start chemo yet. They haven't even gotten to the treatments. They didn't like. It was like hey, we're just finding this out. We're gonna find a way to take care of it dead. Wow. You know what I mean? It was like this. I mean, that's how
I want to go. Honestly, I want to be like months.
But it's just fucking crazy. It just really sucks that like 1 minute you're like, I'm getting married, everything's dope, and then you're just like, my dad just died.
At least her dad tried. My dad didn't. He didn't do any of that when he got sick.
But
he didn't even try to get better.
You know what?
He could have
friends,
tried to get
my
better.
friend's dad did that.
He basically just wanted to disappear his whole life, and
My-
he got what he wanted.
My
basically.
friend's dad died, or my friend's dad got cancer, and he was just like, "Well, I'm not going to do anything about it."
Yeah,
He's
David
just
Bowie
like, "It
did
is
the
what
same-
it is."
David Bowie did the same thing. He was just like, I have cancer. I mean, we didn't even know until it was like too late.
A lot of celebrities do that. What is it? Isaac Hayes. Isaac Hayes supposedly left South Park because of the Scientology episode. That was the public news.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's why that happened.
Yeah. Well,
af-
he had to keep it. You have to keep a lot of that secret.
After-
They know all your secrets.
No, but
anyway,
but after he died, his kids came forth,
and said,
and they were like, he
he
didn't.
said came forth.
He didn't
They
quit the
came
show
forth.
because of the Scientology
Yeah.
episode. That was around the time period he
With
found out about his
Leah,
cancer.
what's her name?
Who?
Wait, Scientology episode?
The Scientology episode South Park.
Oh,
That was
South Park.
around
Oh,
the time Isaac Hayes found out about his cancer,
Yeah.
but he didn't want people to know.
That's so sad. Like,
So
you're all-
after he
why do you want to be
died,
alone in that?
a lot of people do it.
A lot of people don't want to be like they want to be like
Um,
baby or anything.
Babylon
You want people to feel
5.
bad for them.
The main character in the first Babylon 5 movie in the first season left the show because he dealt with severe schizoid paranoia.
Well, that I would keep saying.
And it was a
But I guess if it's going to affect other people,
but it was
you
like
don't
a
really want
dark
to.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
So like the show literally
So it kinda
fucked
worked-
with him.
Yeah.
And they would have to like coax him out of his like
It's like
dressing
the
room because
people-
he'd be like freaking
It's
out.
like the guy in the criminal. Was it Criminal Minds?
Something like that.
That's
But yeah.
how that guy. There was one guy in that show that like
Same thing?
Yeah, he left for a while.
But yeah, he didn't want it to be public knowledge, and he left the show. And after he died, he allowed his parents to kind of be like, "Hey, this is why he left the show. It
That's
wasn't
so
for creative
sad.
differences." And there's sometimes people just don't want their
That's
business
a
to be
big weight
public.
on the parents. They're already burying their kid, and then they
Yeah.
have to like tell the world why their kid died. Like that's so
No,
fucked.
why their parent died.
Or their parent died. That's so fucked. Like I don't know. I mean, everyone's allowed to die how they want if they can, if it's their choice, if they actually have a choice. But when you have something like that, I feel like, yeah, people are gonna feel bad for you. You have cancer. It's the worst thing you could have. So, like, it's the worst thing you could have ever. Like, I don't know anything, or herpes. I guess I don't know. Herpes can't kill you.
Well, herpes
So-
you can live with.
I know, but it's you still tell people about it. I mean, if you're smart and you like respect people, you tell people about it. But like, you can't. You should tell someone. You should tell someone. You should at least tell them and say, "Hey, guess what? I have this, X amount of time to live. Just treat me how you always treat me, and let me just do my thing." Like that's if you put down boundaries, they can still kind of break those boundaries, but at least you're telling people. Because to me, like when you're communicating with the universe. Maybe you'll change. Maybe saying something could actually
I mean, it can.
change. Maybe someone could know something you don't know and save you. Like I don't.
No,
I think it's sometimes it's about pride and not.
that-
And
that
just
in
don't
general
feel bad
is a
for
thing.
me. I don't want you to know me as a sick person. I want you to know me as me.
Your mentality
Yeah.
can affect your development. Like if you find out you have cancer and you just kind of give up
Mhm.
and you start
It's just
treatment, you're
manifesting
more
that,
prone
yeah.
to die because
Yeah.
just
Or
your
yeah.
will to live
All
has
your
kind of been
cells in your body are
depleted.
giving up.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
But if you have like a way stronger, like, hey, I'm gonna beat this, you have a higher chance of survival rate because your mentality is half of your healing.
At least
in
you don't have
general.
to tell people you have Alzheimer's when you have that, because people will figure it out. They're like, "Oh yeah, you have Alzheimer's." Like you forgot just 5 seconds ago. What you
Fair
just
enough.
did. But
It's
yeah,
10 o'clock.
it's
You know what
10
that means.
Just
Yeah.
letting you know. You keep it going if you want.
Well, I'm down to keep it going, but I want to smoke a cigarette.
I
You
think
wanna
we should
smoke
have a break.
cigarette?
I think we should go on a break and we'll come back.
Yeah.
Because we have.
I'm down to talk about more.
We have some celebrity gossip we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah, we never got to that.
You're kind of filling in for Matthew because usually.
You know what we should do?
Usually
Can
you want
you-
to talk about that
Can
stuff.
you pop up like a Megan music video or
I actually-
like a Darvaza thing?
I actually
Want
cannot
me to do it?
Yeah. because I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
All right, yeah. So that way there's
Megan's the
something
real
running
producer,
in
too.
between, so that way it's just not a blank screen.
Boobies.
Whoa, you can't put that on Facebook.
You kid.
So the dick is a 15 minutes. The
We just
boobies
did.
Is a half an
For
hour.
Trailblazers.
Movies a half hour.
What are we doing?
Even-
40 minutes. Are we doing?
Gotta be a vajayjay.
It's gotta be a bit. What do you want?
Just like either some of your music with a video or.
Do you want Dirty Dancing? Let's do Dirty Dancing since we talked about
Patrick Swayze. Just something that we can play so people like don't get bored. I wish we should make a promo video.
What
that we
about
can
the
just run
Hungry
as a
Eyes one?
commercial.
I actually preferred Hungry Eyes over the Dirty. Yeah,
I've
that was
never
my
seen Hungry
favorite.
Eyes.
That was my favorite song. Hungry Eyes. I used to dance with my cousin. We used to like my aunt used to like go to garage sales and like get all these clothes and like let us wear them just to dress up in. So she always got gowns and stuff and like cool stuff to wear. And we would just literally dance in like high heels that were too big for us and like prom dresses that were from the 80s and like dance to like dirty dancing songs. And now when I think about it, I'm like, we're like two like grade school kids, probably inappropriate to dance to dirty dancing music. I mean, it was before we saw the movie, so we didn't know. We didn't know the context
Yeah, I
of
don't
the
know if it
movies.
really matters.
But
I feel like
it was so fun. You're just like leaping in like this wedding dress from the 80s. Like it was just really fun.
Well, it's like my mom put on the soundtrack to Evita, the movie that like Madonna was in or something like that, where she was playing an Argentinian wife's a big historic thing or something like that.
All right,
She put on this soundtrack that Madonna was singing to, and that's all I knew of this event. So I think it's fine that you knew Dirty Dancing soundtrack before you saw the movie.
And then we'll play some. Let's see.
Just put on "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina."
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
I never left you.
You could look up
Meatloaf.
Jimmy Degenerate.
I do
Meatloaf.
anything for love.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, throw that on.
Add to queue. Okay.
Take a quick smoke a break.
I've been meaning to tell you, I've got this feeling it won't subside. I look at you and I fantasize. You're mine tonight. Now I've got you in my sights. With these hungry eyes, one look at you and I can't disguise. I've got hungry eyes. I feel the magic between you and I wanna hold you so hear me out. I wanna show you what love's all about. Darling, tonight. Now I've got you in my sights. With these hungry eyes, one look at you and I can't disguise. I've got hungry eyes. I feel the magic between you and I. I've got hungry eyes. Now I've got you in my sights with those hungry eyes. Now did I take you by surprise? I need you to see this love was meant to be. I've got hungry eyes. One look at you and I can't disguise. I've got hungry eyes. I feel the magic between you and I. I've got hungry eyes. Now I've got you in my sights with those hungry eyes. Did I take you by surprise with my hungry eyes? And I would do anything for love. I'd run right into hell and back. I would do anything for love. I'll never lie to you, and that's a fact. But I'll never forget the way you feel right now. Oh no. No way, and I would do anything for love. Oh, I would do anything for love. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. No, I won't do that. And some days it don't come easy, and some days it don't come hard. Some days it don't come at all, and these are the days that never end. And some nights you're breathing fire, and some nights you're caught in ice. Some nights you're like nothing I've ever seen before. Will again. Maybe I'm crazy, oh it's crazy and it's true. I know you can save me, no one else can save me now but you. As long as the planets are turning, as long as the stars are burning, as long as your dreams are coming true, you better believe it, that I would do anything for love. I'll be there till the final act. And I would do anything for love. And I'll take a vow and seal a pact. But I'll never forgive myself if we don't go all the way tonight. And I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. No, I won't do that. I would do anything for love, anything you've been dreaming of, but I just won't do that. I would do anything for love, anything you've been dreaming of, but I just won't do that. And some days I pray for silence, and some days I pray for soul. Some days I just pray to the God of sex and drums and rock and roll. And maybe I'm lonely, that's all I'm qualified to be. That's just one and only promise I can keep. As long as the wheels are turning, as long as the fires are burning, as long as your prayers are coming true, you better believe it, that I will do anything for love. And you know it's true, and that's a fact. I will do anything for love, and there'll never be no turning back. But I'll never do it better than I do it with you. So long, and I would do anything for love. Oh, I would do anything for love. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. No, I won't do. I would do anything for love, anything you've been dreaming of, but I just won't do that. I would do anything for love. No, I won't do.
Will you raise me up? Will you help me down? Will you get me right out of this godforsaken town? Will you make it all a little less cold?
I can do that. Oh, no, I can do that.
To everything, see I got you. Will you hold me down with holy water if I get too hot? Will you take me places I've never known?
Now I can do that. Oh, no, I can do that.
For a while, forget everything. There's a brief interlude under midsummer night's fling, and you see that it's time to move on.
I won't do that. I won't do that.
I know the territory I've been around. It'll all turn to dust and we'll all fall down. Sooner or later you'll be screwing around.
I won't do that. No, I won't do that. Anything for love. Oh, I would do anything for love. I would do anything for love. But I won't do that. No, I won't do that. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. I feel commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're gonna play it. And if you ask me how I'm feeling, don't tell me you're too blind to see. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Never gonna give, never gonna give. Never gonna give, never gonna give. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're gonna play it. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you
And we're back with the Not So Late Night live stream show.
Hey, so that was a quick commercial break. Showed you a couple music videos at the time, so that way we didn't lose your interest. Megan's in the bathroom right now, but we're gonna keep talking for a little bit, and it's kind of what's going on. Nate, are you excited about getting married?
I feel like I've been married for a while.
Yeah, you have been with Amanda for a hot minute.
We've been together for 15 years. Yeah, so it's like we're married. However, it's just it'll be nice making it official, I guess.
Have you been filing for what is it called? Domestic partnership after your 10-year mark?
No, we didn't do anything like that. I mean, like, it took me so long to even propose to her, right? Like, we haven't done anything. We've been committed for a while, so it's not, we haven't needed to run out to the courts or anything like that.
Well, no, it's actually not a court thing.
Well, whatever.
I don't know if it's an Illinois law or a national thing, but after a certain amount of time, I believe it's 10 years, you are classified as a companion, so you technically can get marriage benefits as that.
Illinois is actually one that does not have that kind
They do not have
Yeah.
What were you drinking over here?
Oh, I was drinking the little round bottle.
This guy?
Yeah, it's really
Is
tasty.
it have flavor?
I mean,
Peat
Scotch
moss,
flavor.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that the wedding will be fun. I am excited to see what her dress looks like and everything. I think everyone is going to have a good time. I hope that everyone's going to.
I'm excited. I'm going to show up snazzy with my good shoes.
Excellent. Good shoes. Excellent.
Good shoes. I don't get to wear them often because they're pretty much designed for special occasions or
Are you coming
clubs.
Are you coming as pink suit guy? Or are you
No,
coming...
I'm gonna throw together a nice little ensemble.
I can't wait to see you at the wedding. I hope that you'll have a good time, quite honestly.
I hope so too. I hope you put me at a nice single table surrounded by lovely ladies.
Well. I don't know if too many single ladies coming over.
Yeah, start inviting some.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Megan's back. Hey, Megan.
Hello. You're back.
You're gonna try that expired OJ?
Yeah, I think I'll take a risk. I mean, the alcohol will burn anything out that's bad for.
I mean, worst case scenario, you'll just get diarrhea.
I kind of made like a ghetto girl's old fashioned. I think a little bit with scotch, but I don't really drink scotch a lot. But I feel like Jimmy always has you always have the top shelf.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I even had told a friend, I was like, Jimmy's all about he likes nice things. He likes nice things. He likes he likes you. I think you cherish the things that make you happy.
Yeah.
But you also take pleasure in helping others and making everyone else feel like they're happy with. You want to you want to share your happiness in that way. Hey,
absolutely.
I got this new whiskey, or got this new movie, or you're always It's always,
hey, you want to enjoy this with me?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I always feel like if I bring a friend, especially if I go out with a friend and we go to a new place that we've both never been to, that's always really exciting. But sometimes it's fun to take them on a vacation to a place that you've been to, so you can be like, hey, I can be your travel guide.
Yeah, you're I got the spots.
Yeah, I know where all the spots are. I got peeps that are working here. I know what we're gonna do. So it's always nice. And then also just bringing friends. I always worry about their well-being and if they get anxiety or if they want me around them all the time. Because if I bring friends with me, I like being with my friends. I like having a group. But I wander. I tend to wander, especially if I'm at a festival or somewhere where I'm just really excited and I just want to walk around. But I always feel like, okay, if I'm going to leave them for 5 minutes, are they going to be okay without me there?
Yeah.
And I've had that luxury of my friends being okay. And then we'll get back together and they'll be able to share their experience. I can share my experience. Or if you introduce people, sometimes I feel like now I know so many people now that if I meet a stranger on the street, outside of a club or bar, we'll talk, and then someone we both know comes over, and we'll hug, and then they're just like, "Oh, you know this person," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know them too." But it also you've basically gained a new friend, because the mutual person is cool. They got their shit going on. They know what they're doing. They're a fantastic person. The person you just met is probably the same.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel closer to that stranger. Now they're not a stranger anymore.
Yeah.
now they're a friend or an acquaintance, which just proves to you that like everything is so connected. Like you're a stranger until you're a friend, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's connected and everyone makes waves, everyone makes ripples. Like even just like tweezing your eyebrows one day, it could just change the course of the butterfly effect.
Yeah, the butterfly effect.
Today I'm not going to shave. Or like just if you deviate from your normal schedule or your normal path, like it's opening up way more opportunity. Either it ends in tragedy or it ends in luck or ends in, something great. It's still different. Like I'm a murderino, so whenever I hear stories that start out with, oh, this person usually gets picked up by their mom at school, like this time they're gonna walk, and it's like, oh, that's okay. Yep, that's it. Like they changed the course of time.
Yep.
Like now that's why they're killed, because they changed it's not their fault. It's just how the universe is. It's how things are changing now. Now the outcome's gonna be different, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like
it's
math.
Cause and effect.
Yeah, it's like math. Like there's only one way to get the answer. But yeah, cause and effect, exactly. I think about that daily, and also just knowing that I'm lucky that I'm still here, and just being thankful for like the childhood that I did have, and hearing stories that are like crime stories that maybe that person had a similar life than you did, and like why are you having a better life than them? Like it kind of makes you like really think about your life. Like
I think that all has to deal with mental strength and just kind of what your outlet is.
mm-hmm.
Like I would say a lot of people that are actors or musicians have some sort of like fucked up trauma. Like if you look at old blues musicians, like jazz musicians and blues musicians didn't do like heroin because it was rock and roll. Like people were doing drugs in like the 80s because they were like, oh, Jimi Hendrix and like Miles Davis, they did this stuff. It's fucking cool. It's like, well, no, these were like nationally known artists that still had to go in through the back door, that were still called boy and still like subjugated against.
Pretty much.
But it's like you're a top billed act and you're not even treated like an equal. So
she
it's
did
like
that stuff alone because she had social anxiety.
So your escape was, well, this is not accepting, so I need to do this. But then you take someone who's...
You're distracting yourself from, like, you're creating your own, like, kind of world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you go through an intense hardship and you don't have that musical or artistic or actor outlet or something like that. And maybe you're mentally not strong enough
and
to deal with it.
Maybe there's no one guiding you
and
either.
Then
which is harder.
You kind of break. You know what I mean? There's like a lot of instances where certain things happen. Like Ted Bundy's a prime example, where he was raised in a household where he later found out that his sister ended up being his mother and his grandmother was raising him.
Jack Nicholson was the same way. He could have been a serial killer too.
Exactly. And I have a friend.
Was his mom or was his grandma was his mom or something?
And I had a friend whose instance where like the girl he knew as his sister, he found out later in his like mid-20s that was his mom.
That'll fuck a boy up. Fuck a boy up.
But like, sorry, it's all about how you mentally.
I don't think it would fuck me up. I'm like, well, you were pretty good. Like you're a good family member. I wouldn't care. I mean, I would just be like, at least you didn't abandon me. I don't care if you're like really my mom. Like, at least you didn't give me up.
Yeah.
You kept me in the family. But like, yeah, I mean, that's why I feel like why I like being an artist. My whole family was very, I think both sides of my family. My dad's side was military family. My mom's side was, they valued education, they valued art, they valued self-identity, like who are you, and also just giving you values, showing you like this traditions, stuff like that. But I have all my cousins are just so different, and they've all had the ability,
similar, kind of like upbringing and
like and one of my aunts, like their
stuff.
Kids are a certain way. Like every one of my aunts, their kids are a certain way. They all have all their kids are their own, but they kind of have these similar characteristics.
Yeah,
of
their individuality about how they interpreted how they like adapted.
But there's
to their
no
world.
favoritism. Everyone's different. Like for a while, I thought going back to like having kids, I thought, okay, I don't know. I think it was just my brain. I thought like, okay, if I have a kid, maybe I'll get more attention. I feel like all my cousins that have kids, they always get more attention because they have children. So that's their daily schedule. It's literally their kids every day. But then, I'm sorry you guys if you're watching this, but then there's times where like the kids are acting out and you're just like, oh God, like I'm glad that's not me. But at the same time, it's like, okay, cool. They're like these little extensions of you, but they're also not.
Yeah.
They're also made up of stardust. Like it's
Yeah.
made up of something entirely that's just
It's
them.
matter that's
Yeah.
already existed that's
exactly.
just growing.
Exactly. And like for me, I kind of believe that like if you die, your spirit's like, you know, if you ever watched it, I think it's called Soul or something. A movie called Soul. It's like a Pixar movie. So like their narrative is that souls exist. They're like baby souls, right? They're not. They don't have a body yet, but they're babies. They're infant. They're very new, like how a star would be.
Yeah.
You know, when it's like a star is born, right? A real star, they grow and they age. So like these souls are kind of like assigned a body.
It's kind of like a living consciousness. That's
it's a
like
free-living consciousness. That's like, you know. So if that's kind of some similar things that I believe in. I also believe in like, you know, reincarnation. Like you could come back as, if I'm Buddhist, so if you do shitty things, if you're shitty to people, the more you do it, you could come back as the worst animal or like bug or whatever, like amoeba, whatever it is. It's like it's not doing anything for society or like evolution or anything. But if you do things that are, it's like, you know, if you have good deeds, you do good deeds, you go to heaven, right? If you're a good person, you go to heaven. But if you are a good person in Buddhism, it's actions over words and then following your own philosophy, not just preaching your philosophy.
Yeah.
Buddhists don't outwardly preach their philosophy.
They
just
practice
are,
what they are
and
doing.
you can either like it or you don't, and that's it. They don't say, oh, you should be Buddhist or you should be vegan or you should be this. It's existing and not existing.
Yeah.
Like the Buddhist monks, when they would be walking in the sand or walking on the ground, I don't know if you've seen this, but they would always like wipe their steps as they go, because they're trying not to create like a disturbance in the world.
Well, it's also dealing
world.
with balance itself.
Yeah,
like the
so
same thing with rock gardens.
Like you exist, but you don't.
Exactly.
Like you're nothing, but you are.
Exactly.
So, and I like that. I like knowing that I'm nothing. It makes you want. It drives me to do what I want to do and not give a fuck.
Yeah.
So like the art kind of is that's my therapy. Like when I was making music, that was taking me out of a dark place or a place where I was sad or just sometimes just bored. Like, and watching movies, you know, traveling, being around artists that do things you could not possibly fathom that you could do. Even if you could try to do it for the rest of your life, you'd never get to where they're doing. So I like that. It inspires me because I'm like, hey, I can't fucking do surreal painting. Like making it look like a fucking photograph.
That's my
do that,
favorite form of art.
But I'm not gonna like try to do it and one up you. I'm like, hey, you're good at that. I'm good at this. Let's work together. Yeah. You know. And then I have friends that don't like to collaborate. They think no one really cares. They have a motive. But I've never worked with people when I was an artist, whether I was doing photography or DJing, where they were like they had a motive. Now, if they're talking to you and you're trying to collaborate with them, usually in the first 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, you're just hitting on me. Like, okay, like you just want to have sex with me, or you want me to do something, and then there's like a talk, like a verbal contract. I think verbal contracts are binding. If you say something and then you gaslight me later, the deal's off. We're not working together, or we're not working again together. But I won't also tell people that like don't work with this person, because that's just my issue with them. Now if they're actually being a shitty, corrupted person, yeah, I'm gonna tell everybody. Like there was actually, I'm not gonna name this DJ because I'm just trying to keep his privacy, but recently there's been some drama in the DJ world. This famous DJ, he's a producer. He's been in like working with record labels and stuff since he was like a young man. But he's a really famous DJ. He travels all over the country. So I think he's been outside this country. But this one woman, now I know there's West Fest is this weekend. So he's playing tomorrow. He's the headliner for tomorrow. And we probably already figured out who it is.
I have no idea who's playing West Fest.
Well, I mean,
don't even know what West Fest
whoever's
is.
listening is gonna Google. They're gonna Google it. But this literally, like, her name is Maggie, but we called her Karen, and she DM'd him saying, actually, I'll read it if you guys have time. I can read it really quick. But in a matter of 2 days, this woman became a meme. Quite literally became a meme. It went like viral in 2 days. And because we know this person, all the people that we know shared and reshared and reshared, and more comments and more comments and more views and more comments. So like when you put this person's name in Facebook, all that comes up is all of that content, but her profile is gone. Like it's gone. That's how bad this is. So she basically was DMing this DJ and kind of being, that person that is, like the passive aggressive kind of thing. Let me see if I can find her. I don't care about. I mean, obviously everyone's been doxing her, which I'm not going to do. But within a matter of 2 days, they've like literally made her a meme. So in the note, okay, let me see if I can find the actual note. If I can find it. Okay, so I'm on his page right now. What the heck?
Nope, find it.
Yeah, we'll find him. But like, I think it's really funny because, when people DM, when you're DMing a famous celebrity, like you shouldn't be surprised that they're gonna share it with all their friends, like all the receipts, right? See if I can find it. I don't think I can find it, you guys.
That's cool.
Really
That's
bad.
all right.
But she basically was like saying how house music should be played. Like house music should be like, you shouldn't be playing the songs like a full-length song, which I mean, house music is literally a song. Someone's singing, there's lyrics. Why would you cut it short? I never heard house music where there weren't any lyrics.
Yeah.
Or if you cut it short, it's just abrupt. Techno you could do. It's constant, unless it has melodic in there. But like, and she's like, oh, I'm 49 years old from here, from Chicago. And like, you should be collaborating with the DJs that play before you and after you so that none of you play the same song. Like, first of all, we're all artists. We're not going to call each other up like and say, hey guys, like, what are you guys playing? What's your tracks list? I'm not sharing you what I'm playing.
Yeah.
Because chances are you're going to try and play it and then you're going to cut me off and I won't be able to play it. Number two, I don't care if you're 49 years old. I don't care if you're 29 years old. You obviously don't know how house music works. And you're telling someone who's very affluent and has been given awards and like has had great success in the industry how to be a DJ.
Yeah.
So like it basically had gone on for 2 days and he shared it on his Facebook. And so everyone was just kept sharing it. And then the memes 2 days, like this is what I told my friend the day after we read this DM. I was like, okay, well, we're all going to West Fest on Sunday, right? We're all going to West Fest. He's the headliner. So what we're gonna do is we should put her picture on a sign and say, Karen, cut the music short. Like just underneath, so that she would see it. And that but we would call her Karen. We wouldn't say we wouldn't put her real name. And then 2 days later, there are these memes. And someone had taken snippets out of her DM and put house music in front of each of the sentences. So I'll just read that. I'll just read those. It says, house music is having a lot of songs to choose from. Thank you for all you do. House music is DJs playing the same songs. House music is going to West Fest. House music is cutting the music short. House music is 49 and grew up in Chicago. House music is coordinating with the before and after DJs. Like it's just, your set was boring, and I was very disappointed. Like, but there's these like pictures of her in each one, right? So I'm like, okay, well, there's 9 of these. All we need to do is have 9 people hold a sign with each of these snippets on there. And then one of my friends was like, and dare I say, we asked Derek to let us up on the stage and like go up there and like just hold the signs.
That'd
like,
be funny.
Hey guys, like, hey, where are you?
Try it.
We're just as like a funny joke. It's just like, this is all of Chicago, like making fun of you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm positive, like West Fest is different. Randolph Fest, when I went there, was house disco. There were a couple of stages, but West Fest has a stage for bands, which I've never seen their bands. They have one for bands, and then the other on the other side is for DJs, which is great because everything in between is food and vending.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would just be so fucking funny. I'm ready. I'm gonna go to get cardboard. I'm gonna get some handle. Like I'm gonna make some signs. Even if we
great.
don't use them, like I want to put them in my lawn, like
I
something.
mean, regardless, they
Like-
would be great markers at a festival. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, anyone carrying this sign,
Yeah.
you're gonna know it's a part of your
Yeah.
group.
Yeah, it's just like I just don't know that the gall and the audacity of like. That's why I don't have Twitter, because if I talk shit about a celebrity, they're gonna see it right away.
Yeah.
That's why I like Facebook or Instagram, because it just goes in their messages. Like if you put them on their stories and you tag them, I have like a million of them for Amber Heard, and then I had some for like, like obviously Ezra Miller, and just if I ever hear about a celebrity being shitty, I tag them in my stories so that it goes in their messages and they're forced to see it. They probably won't see it if it's Instagram. They won't see it for like a year. Like, they're sifting through all the DMs, but Twitter right away. If you can start a battle with anyone. It's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My punk band had a battle with one of the sports correspondent on WGN Morning News. He's a comedian. I don't find him funny at all. I think he fucking sucks. So we would
say the same thing pretty much.
We would just pretty much, and
we just rag on him and shit.
So we would just rip on him, and then he would respond to us, and then his followers would hate on us, and then our followers would hate on them. And I'm like,
then you
cool.
get more followers because they hate you.
Yeah, and I'm like, cool. We just started this whole little stupid battle from this fucking sportscaster from WGN who does stand-up comedy and shit. And it was funny. It was like a whole year feud and shit. And it was funny because I was also doing stand-up comedy.
And then one of you forgets why you're fighting, and you're like, I don't know. I'm just gonna drop off now.
I just thought it was hilarious.
I mean, I guess who would you want to like go into a battle with? If you like, what celebrities? Like,
Fall Out Boy.
Wow, that you didn't even. There was no time. Like you've been waiting for someone to ask you that question.
I can 100% tell you that.
Why? Like specifically one, like Steve, or like
all the whole band.
The whole band.
I want to fight.
Well, the singers. I heard the
band.
singer's an asshole too. I heard they're all assholes.
Yeah, I want to fight the entire band. The entire band.
I'll fight you right now.
Literally since the first day they came out, I was like, "This is dog
shit." Do you like
shit.
Panic at the Disco better?
I hate all of that music from that time period.
They're worse than Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy at least writes their own shit. Like Panic at the Disco.
Fall Out Boy constantly rips off jingles from other songs and then puts their own.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't? We just talked about Ghetto Superstar. We just talked about that song.
We did talk about that.
I mean, that's been done 3 times.
Fair enough.
Like or like the one where like it was Snoop Dogg when he made that song about fucking Biggie. Wasn't it like every move you make?
No, that was Puff Daddy when he was still Puff Daddy.
But he's singing about Biggie or something.
Yeah,
right? Wasn't he his manager or something?
Yeah, he was his producer.
He was the one that
he was his
him,
producer and also hype man.
Yeah. So he they made a redo of that.
But that
made
was
it less creepy. It made it less creepy because that song's about like a guy talking about his daughter. Or like
no, it's a guy who's stalking his ex.
Yeah, well, he's a star. Yeah,
it's a guy. Yeah, it's about a guy who's stalking his ex because he can't get over her.
I love you, man. Like it's just they made it into like a love song.
Yeah.
Whereas like
it was more like I miss you and I wish you were still here.
I wish you were still here. I wish I could still keep making money off you. I mean, I miss you.
I don't think Puff Daddy really has to try to make money.
No, he does.
He just does.
He does it, and I actually haven't seen him in the news recently at all either. He must be like sleeping or something.
I mean, the last
he's
track.
sleeping on all that pile of money right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's probably all he's doing. It's probably all he needs to do.
Yeah, I thought it was like Puff Diddy. Didn't he change it like
P Diddy? It was P Diddy in the thousands. I don't.
Now it's Sean. Yeah. Now it's just Sean Combs.
Yeah, Sean Combs. That's what he goes by now.
Yeah. Oh, he just went with his real name now.
Yeah, because it used to be Sean Puffy Combs. Then it was Puff Daddy. Then it was P Diddy.
He's older. He's not cute anymore.
He just kept evolving his name.
And Puff Daddy, like, it doesn't make sense now. It's like it made sense then.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense now. But like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of like celebrities I'd probably pick, but like, I mean, for right now, Amber Heard for sure. Like, I would just be trolling the shit out of her.
I avoided all of that stuff.
But it has to be a celebrity where you know they're gonna see it, and you know they're gonna they get antagonized very easily. Like they just like want to fight you.
Yeah. Like
right away. Like I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I can't even think off the top of my head. I feel like I'd want to do more love bombing, like where it's like it's a sarcastic tweet, but like when they read it, they think it's real. They think it's like you really care about them. Like you're just like it's like your own inside joke where you're like, yeah, they think I like them, but I don't. But then it just backfires because they think you like them. But yeah, there'd be a few Chris Pratt. I definitely would have a Twitter beef with him for sure because he's recently had some damage on the internet. He was referring, I guess he and his new wife Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. He's
Is that who he's married to?
I think, yeah. And they had a baby. They had a kid, and he was referring to like their kid being. He was so blessed to have this healthy kid. And I'm like, you and Anna Faris have a kid with mental disability, and you're basically saying that like you regret being their parent, and you're throwing religion at people now. I mean, he's probably always been like
No,
that,
he's been a hardcore Christian since day one.
Yeah,
he actually used to do that.
I mean,
he wasn't like, but he would
Well, he
promote.
wasn't,
He
like,
would promote
yeah.
the church, and he
I
would
mean,
promote his Christianity
Aubrey
and talk
Plaza
about
said
it.
when they got an award for their Parks and Rec, and they had to go up and do the thank you speech.
Mm.
Aubrey Plaza had remembered saying this in an interview. She said, "I told him don't do the church stuff," and he did.
Yeah, because he's super into Christianity.
Yeah.
Super into Christianity.
And that's okay, but don't say you go to a church that like doesn't have any corruption, because the church he goes to is like very anti-LGBTQ.
Mm.
So he said in this interview, he's like, "Oh, I don't celebrate religion because of these bad reasons for land or for money or for." I'm like, you're going to church. They don't pay taxes. They don't care about LGBTQ people, and they probably are probably built over a Native American burial. I mean,
Like,
all of those.
What isn't built over a Native American
the
burial?
The only way
honestly.
that you're praying to God without any of those things is in the comfort of your own home or in nature. That's the only time, because you're not taking anything.
Well, that was the whole point.
Literally sitting there and praying
Jesus
to God.
Christ's ideal of religion is that you don't need to be in a temple to praise God.
And
God is everywhere.
And that Jesus never wanted to have followers in the first place.
No, he didn't.
He was just giving people advice, and everyone was just like, "Oh my God, I have a new best friend." Like, and he's just like, "I don't know you guys. Like, you're dumb. I just want to tell you. I just want to help you. I made you. You can see now. Like the guy that he made. There was a blind guy that he made. He made him so he could see. And the guy went back to his village and just blabbered to everybody. He was just like, "Don't say anything. Like, this is between me and you." Like, Jesus was like, "No one can keep a secret here. Everyone's dumb. They have no idea what they're doing." So like Christianity used to be where they were saying, "Hey, we love everybody. We don't preach on people. We just accept people for who they are." And now it's like this fucked up thing where it's like we hate everybody.
Well, I mean,
we want you to be like us, but it's like, why would we want to be like you when you hate us?
Well,
like,
I mean, that's the thing.
It's so fucked up. It's backwards. Like,
you know, Jesus didn't write the Bible. He created great ideals.
No, men wrote the Bible.
And
men
then
wrote the Bible.
Several years later, they were like, "Let's write stories about this that we keep hearing about."
And rewritten. I mean, could you imagine like who the real writer is? Like that they have like an interview, like, "Oh yeah, book out." Like, could you imagine that scenario?
Right.
It would be like several, like 100 people in one room. They have to interview everybody. Like, why did you write this part of the Bible?
All the rewritings, all the reinterpretations.
Yeah, and then to maybe find out
that like readjusted it to their needs.
Yeah, and then to maybe find out that those actual stories weren't even what they wanted you to know. It was like what we thought it was. So like living by the word of the Bible is virtually impossible. It's impossible because my perspective of a story in the Bible could be totally different from yours.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the person who wrote it may have a different one from ours. Like, we might be wrong. Everything we're doing is wrong. Unlearn everything you've ever learned, because I mean, I've read the Bible. It's boring as fuck, and it doesn't make sense to me. There's some stories where it's like, okay, this is a fable. It's a life lesson. It's very direct.
See, that's what I feel like the Bible actually is. It's just a book of fables that are
Abel,
to help you guide you.
You know, like
life.
like all those people, like, you know, obviously they want you to learn like about. I mean, the Ten Commandments are not even relevant anymore, because like the George Carlin stand-up where he was talking about the Ten Commandments. Like,
I love that stand-up bit.
You just narrow it down to 2: don't kill anyone and don't lie.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, you can like other people what they have, because then you're stimulating the economy. And you can, you know, but don't lie and don't murder. That's it. I mean, in my opinion, murder if you need to. If it's a matter of life and death,
depending on who.
No, you're gonna go to jail, but just know in your mind that it was worth it. That's all.
Yeah.
The self-defense plea. Like, say you're guilty. Don't say you're not guilty, because that's how you get fucked. Just say you're guilty, because then they'll feel bad for you. And they're like, "Oh man, okay, you're confessing. You actually feel bad for what you did." If you say not guilty, they're like, "Oh shit, okay. Like, you must not have been there. Like, was it your twin, or like did you just like separate from your body? Like, what happened? You know?" And then you have to create the insanity plea and all of that. You have to prove that you're insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have to make sure you just pay off the doctor and say you're not insane, I guess. If you have enough money.
Fair enough.
Donald Trump's been doing it for years. I mean, that man brought blank manila folders to disguise and show that those were his taxes. Remember that picture?
Who?
Donald Trump. He literally there was a picture. They wanted to see his taxes because of all his businesses. They thought he was they thought he was spending all his money while he was in office, which you're not supposed to do. You're given a budget. Like I don't even know if you have personal money. Everything's paid for. Like right, it's like a salary.
You do get a salary as the president. It's a specific amount.
But you can't dip into your businesses and use it for. Yeah.
You can't.
You have to raise the money, or you
have. You can't operate, own, or run a business while you're the president.
Exactly.
So you have to give up.
Well, that's what they were accusing him of doing, and this was before the grab him by the pussy one, or maybe it was after. But I remember they had to have there was a picture of him with all these manila folders out, and they were blank. Like no one knew they were blank, but he just did it to show some kind of front of
He's like, here's some files.
They're probably my dad. I don't know.
The greatest.
I just went to fucking FedEx and got these fucking.
I'm pretty sure Donald Trump has never even seen his W-2. He probably has an entire office.
He doesn't know what a
W-2.
I don't think he knows what a W-2 is.
Probably has an entire office floor that does his accounting.
A W-2 is he did. I don't think he knows what any of it is. But it's just stuff like that. The illusion of showing that you are a certain person and you're not. It's so exhausting. Be you. People that either hate you are going to stay away from you. People that like you are going to stay with you. That's it.
Absolutely.
It's simple.
You might as well be yourself because at the end of the day, you can't make everyone happy.
And if you have to, if you feel the vibe, just put crazy right on the table. Just throw it. Just test that person. Oh, yeah. Day 3 of knowing them. Do day 3. If you're dating, don't do that. Don't do that. So wait a few months.
So I've started doing shit in public.
Before you move in, but definitely after a few months of your dating. For sure.
I've started doing random things in public. So when you go to any sort of machine, like an ATM or something, or CVS, and chances are it's going to talk to you. It's going to be put money in, scan your shit,
please
read your card or whatever. So now when I go up to a machine that doesn't say anything,
you get nervous.
I start narrating out loud everything I'm doing.
Yeah.
So before I went on keto, I went into McDonald's and I was like, start order here. Meal combo menu.
Did people hear you?
I 100%. I was clearly saying it, and I was like extra onions, extra onions.
I would be recording your voice. I'd be that weirdo right next to you,
And there were people in line that were kind of watching me, but I knew they were hearing me, but they weren't saying anything.
Yeah.
And occasionally, I will do these random social experiments just to see how people react because I also think it's funny.
Well, we should start recording that. That's gonna be new.
These are things
I'll
that
just follow around with the webcam.
This is random shit I would do because people like you would think people would say something sometimes when I do some of the things I do, but they won't. But it'll be great because I'll be having a conversation with them and they'll be staring at me all right, so when I was doing comedy,
they're already, they have no idea what's gonna happen.
When I was doing comedy, I did a 3-month bit where I literally shaved my mustache to only have a Chaplin stash / Hitler stash, and I literally had it. I went to work
Chaplin
with
do
it
before Hitler.
I mean, it was all the rage back then.
Yeah.
That was just a popular mustache.
Hitler, he stole it.
That was even still a popular mustache in Britain until the mid-70s.
I think Hitler couldn't grow a beard. That's why he had a mustache.
But I did that, and I did just jokes about being a genetic clone of Hitler and how much it sucks because I thought that was funny. But I would also be like, well, how are people going to react? And I remember when I first walked into work, my manager just stared at it. And she talked to me regularly, but she's
thinking it.
She never mentioned anything.
Yeah, but you probably
I could see it on her face.
Yeah, she's like deer to headlights.
And then surprisingly enough, girls with daddy issues find it incredibly attractive. It was really obscure. But I would go to public places and these people would have this I'd be like, I know you want to say something, but I'm not going to say that you want to say something. But I can see it.
Then you're already you're kind of making them more vulnerable if you just say it.
And I also never changed my demeanor.
The safety of just being normal.
So I was still
bringing it up.
I was still me. I just wasn't.
You should do a half wink in there,
and yeah.
You talk just
But I would do. I occasionally be like, hey, it'd be kind of funny to do this and see how people react.
Or you just this.
And a lot of times
you just
people just won't say anything, but you can see it on their face where they're like they want to say something, and it's right there, but they're like, should I say anything? Is it appropriate to say
And then
anything?
they
He seems fine. Like
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't say
But
anything.
it's nice to say it's good for your brain. That's good exercise, man.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they have the anxiety, but it's like good, like it's good, like stimulating the anxiety where they're just like they're thinking about it and you're talking to them and they're kind of like tuning you out and they're just like you can see on their face
Exactly.
when someone's really looking at you and they're like not looking at your eyes and you're like, what are you thinking right now? Like, I see the gears turning. But I like when you can say something to someone and they already are they're either going to say it or like they don't know that you know that about them.
Yeah.
You just feel that about them maybe within the maybe 10 minutes of talking to them. Those are always the best like interactions where like it just makes you more bonded with that person. Especially if you try to guess their zodiac sign, which is really you guys hate that, but like
I'm not saying
I'm
down
it's
for
not
zodiac
like the course
signs.
of your whole life.
I 100%.
It's just something to do. It's like talking about the weather. It's a personality trait. It's fun.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes you get it right. Sometimes you get it right. And then they're just
I'm not good at guessing, but like after someone tells me what they are, I'll be like, if I know their sign, like if I've been around that sign and I know it, I'll be like, that makes sense because A, B, C, and D.
Sometimes I can know just like by characteristics, but I think it's more about people who are artists more than like just like people like normies, like people who are not artsy.
Yeah.
Because like usually they have to like fit a narrative or like they have to fit a character, like this is their working cap. They're at work. This is when they're doing. The artists are like they're just all over the place.
Yeah,
like, they don't have structure. Their structure, like they have to make their own structure. Or someone has to give them the structure. So like their emotions and their personality is just like out there. It's all out there.
Oh, absolutely.
And usually, like 8 times out of 10, I usually get it right with the birthdays. But then they'll just be like, I'll just like be like, oh yeah, you're like this and like that, and I was like, how did you know that? But then sometimes, there's other parts. Everyone's an onion. There's different layers, but it's fun. It's a fun conversation piece. Especially when you're just outside a bar and you just have a cigarette, or like you're just outside and you just run into someone. And usually, what people do is when they smoke a cigarette and you're alone, you usually gather to someone else that's doing that, and that's kind of another way to like bond with someone.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's always fun and like. It's fun to know, like, just playing that game. It's like just playing, like, the guessing game. It's a 20 questions kind of thing. And then if you get it wrong, it's always exciting, too. Because it's like, oh, shit, I'm not on my game today. Like, I got it wrong. Like, I'm way off. But, yeah, usually there's got to be some truth to it. It has to be. Like, we know about stars. We know about planets. We know about galaxies. But, like, there's constellations that are named after zodiac.
Yeah.
Like, there's some truth in it. It's not just, like, a game you play. Like, it's
like,
not like Sudoku where you can get it right or get it wrong. Like,
there's so many
gotta
variables.
be something interwoven into that whole thing, And then there's just like growing up and your external, your environment changes you too.
There is a Orville episode, which is like Seth MacFarlane's
I love
Star
that
Trek.
show. I love that show. That show is so well written.
Did you see the
Seth
episode?
MacFarlane is a fucking genius.
He's
a fucking genius. Like, I can't believe he can control, like, he's running all of these shows at the same time. Like, Eric and Dad, Family Guy, and, like, it's just insane. Like,
he also recently got contract with Showtime and HBO to, like, produce and direct drama pictures because he wants to stop doing comedy. He wants
Did you
to
know
start
he
doing
had
drama.
to take voice lessons in order to do all those voices?
I could see that.
Yeah, he had to actually, and he grew up in like theater and music. Like he loved.
Well, yeah.
Musical,
Do you know that he
loves,
used to be
stuff
a
like
Disney
that.
cartoonist before he did a show? And his first episode, he hand drew the first episode of Family Guy.
I think I kind of relate him more to the Brian character though.
I can see that.
I feel like Brian is like his avatar in a way. Or like when he's being Brian, that's his voice.
Yeah.
Right. Because when he's in Orville,
so he puts a little bit of himself into it. Yeah.
Same. It's like, what's his face for like Archer? The same guy that does like.
John Benjamin.
Yeah, like it's the same thing. You close your eyes, same guy.
Coach McGurk.
But like when he's Chris and he's not Chris. He's when he's Peter, and then he's in the Orville, like in all the movies he's been in. Like it's just so different. And I guess he plays supporting actors, like extra characters too, like
he does
and stuff.
He's in.
Did he play Mort?
Who?
Did he play Mort?
Mort,
the Jewish guy in Family Guy. Wasn't that Mort? Is that his name?
like their
Oh,
neighbor.
I don't know.
Pharmacist,
No,
the
he's not. The
pharmacist.
No,
pharmacist.
that
He's
might
not the
be
neighbor.
that might be
I don't think that's
Seth Green.
Yeah, that
makes
might-
sense.
I think
That
that's
makes
Seth
sense.
Green.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, yeah, I mean, go ahead with the episode. I mean, I think I'm on the new season now.
Okay, so you
Yeah,
saw the episode
I'm on
of
the one
season
where they
2.
had the revolution and like with how they were like having to like work with another alien race to like defeat another alien race.
Okay, yeah.
I'm at the part where like there's a leader like I don't want to say without spoiling it.
No, I'm all
Did you watch all
caught
of it?
up. I'm all
Okay,
caught up. I'm
Sorry,
like,
spoiler alert. I watched the one where like he finds out he has a daughter.
yeah, that
That's where
super
I'm
political
past
one.
That part.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm past that part. I'm at the episode after, and it's like so sweet because they talk about trans people, talk about being gay, they talk about being
what
they
I
talk about
like
so many things like that. I'm just like, damn.
What I
Zach
like
McFarlane,
about that
likes
show
he likes humans.
is
Like,
that they address it appropriately.
they address it appropriately. Abortion. There was a one about abortion.
Like
I mean,
the whole episode.
just identity in general.
The whole
like,
episode of Mocklins where they talk about the trans issues. I like that it's not.
Yeah,
fully
you
about the
shouldn't,
trans
that you
issues,
shouldn't
it's
change your
between-
child without their
it's-
consent.
It's between the child's wishes, the religious
Yeah.
basis,
It's not that
the
they're against
parents'
trans
right to
people. They're saying you
raise,
shouldn't do
the
anything with
state's
your
rights
child.
to choose. It
Yeah.
it shows every aspect
Yeah.
of the issue instead of just like the stripped down version that most people give
And then
us.
like the leader was like, "Oh, the people that didn't want to have kids, like we like do like an assimilated."
Oh
version
yeah,
of
that's
it."
so fucked up.
Yeah.
They show them, all right, so the people that like get abortions, they
Yeah.
take the parents and they take their genetic code and make a hologram of the child and
Of how it would be.
subject them
and they're like
to
they're
being
like, "Why
around
did
their
you
child
wanna
as an
keep me? Why
adolescent
did you
that
wanna
they
keep
kill.
me? Are you my mom and dad? Why did you
Yeah,
wanna
and
keep
like
me?"
super
Yeah, yeah.
psychological damage.
And Seth MacFarlane is just like, wow.
It's like brutal,
yeah.
dude.
But it makes me like feel closer to him because I'm just like, there's got to be some sort of personal like bias. I mean, this is it's not just Seth MacFarlane; it's the whole production. Like,
Yeah.
everyone has to be on board with this story.
And
And at
it's
first you think like, oh, are they against this? And they're like, oh, no.
just this like
No,
really
no.
deep view
They're
of all
showing both
aspects of it. Yeah.
extreme views, but like it's not too extreme where it's like unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's like because this is supposed to be like Star Trek. It's
Yeah.
like Star Trek. I would say it's closer to Star Trek because it's now a new generation. I don't know the years.
Honestly, I would say
2500 or
I would say it's
300.
very comparable to Star Trek, the original series, because
The
the
original,
original
yeah,
series
yeah.
like would do that too. They would have,
Yeah,
but their social addresses were different because it was the 60s.
but
So
also
it was
that
like
everyone has
women
a job.
cohabitate. You know
Everyone
what I
has
mean?
a job to
Exactly.
do, but everyone's interconnected and
Yeah.
there's a lot of personal issues.
Exactly.
And you have to all be okay.
Yeah.
To get through a mission because if one leg is broken, everything else.
Exactly.
Is fine.
And
That's
it's all this cohabitation and like
And then
yeah.
you can get your food. You can get whatever the fuck you want in your food.
From
Your food can be
replicators,
anything
bro.
you want to. And like that's what I love. Is like I just want this. I want to eat this today.
And it just shows up.
Yeah, it just shows up. Like, but also like all the aliens are like able to be like their own self.
Yeah.
Like there's an episode where like the aliens naked and they're like just
Oh yeah.
they're like I respect your
it's a
religion.
religious thing.
Yeah, they're like I respect your religion, but like can we just compromise? And I like how he's like, well, what do you suggest I do? And I'm just thinking like I don't know. It's your like you obviously it's your choice, but I'm like oh wait, he wants to be naked.
Whatever
So she's
comparable
like,
thing.
well, let's just put some pants on and we'll just do that. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was easy. Why can't people just do that?
Yeah.
Why can't they just talk like that?
Yeah.
Because they have their ego, they have their beliefs, and they let them get in the way instead of just listening.
Exactly.
And yeah, if you talk for 5 hours or 5 days, you don't agree, fine. That's it. Leave each other alone. You go there. You go there.
Exactly. Agree to
Okay.
disagree.
Agree to disagree. Don't have any beef. Like people let shit get in the way, and they want to be a little, adult child, and they don't want to listen. There'd be less conflict.
There would
be if they just actually talked about like the peace treaty. Are there any more peace treaties? What's going on with that?
Who even
There's-
fucking knows?
What is a peace treaty anymore? Because I know like a lot of kings and like leaders have just like broken those.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I'll sign my name. Literally, I'm signing my soul away. Oh no, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
Hitler did it. Remember when they?
Oh yeah, he signed
tried-
that paper that
Yeah,
he
yeah.
wouldn't go into Poland. He went
Yeah.
to Poland.
Yeah, and
He
and
was.
It was worse.
They
It
were
was
like,
worse
"Hey,
the
sign a
second
paper
time.
that you won't like take over Austria."
Yeah.
And eventually, he worked in the
It was
paperwork
worse
of
the
just
second time.
absorbing
It
it.
was worse the second time because no one thought that he would do it, but he obviously was like worse the second time. He's like, oh, they were like, oh, he forgot. I'm like, no, he didn't forget.
So it's funny
He just
that you
doesn't
say
care.
this
He
too,
doesn't
because I took a Holocaust studies course, and we didn't actually talk about the Holocaust until the last 2 weeks. We talked about everything that led up to it, and a lot of things that happened back then, and why like a lot of nations kind of didn't try and strong arm Hitler, is because post World War I, a lot of the countries were basically like, our military is depleted, our defenses are depleted, we kind of are only in a defensive state. Like France's military was not set up for an armed conflict, but they were set up to where, like, well, if someone comes in, we have some sort of defense perimeters. A lot of countries were built like that, whereas Germany was just thriving, got off the gold standard, was the first country out of the Great Depression, and they were building a military, they were building aircrafts.
And unfortunately, they had all the best doctors and
scientists. And they did, and that's
they were
the thing.
all Nazis, which sucked.
So, like, when everyone was like, hey, maybe you should back off, Hitler was kind of like, well, what the fuck are you going to do? And they're like,
you can't tell me what to do. I have a mustache.
He's like, yeah, he's just like, what are you going to do about it? And they're like, hey, well, let's come to an agreement. Let's give you the small part of Poland that speaks German. Let's give you Austria. And you just kind of leave everyone alone. And he's like, you know what? You keep giving me shit. Yeah. And of course, at that point in time, he was like, well, I got the numbers and I got the shit. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I had tanks now.
And that's kind of how that whole thing is, that whole buildup.
And that was all before they had the actual like people like that was before they even had like actual like people flying in the sky. This was all just ground.
Yeah, because World War I was when that first started becoming a thing.
The Air Force,
and then exactly, and then these biplanes started coming, and then the
I can't believe they
V2
actually
engine
made like
was
fake
created.
tanks, like some of the.
Oh yeah,
like, they just tried to like destroy the British troops.
It was inflatable. Yeah.
They would make fake tanks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like we gotta get all the women and girls over here because we're doing some scrapbooking right now.
But I mean,
we need the biggest cardboard box ever that you've ever seen.
It's crazy.
Draw a take on it.
It's crazy to think that some of like the military survived doing things like that because they're like, well, we don't have this. What can we do?
Or being in a dog kennel that was like your shelter.
Yeah.
This is your dog kennel. Put it in your living room. Like there's only room for two of you.
Yeah.
Like in a small baby. That's it. Like you live like a dog in a kennel. Like that was. I mean, just that's what I'm saying. Like circling back to knowing that you live in this time period, in this time and space, and you could have been living in the Middle Ages. You could have been a Viking. You could have been, again, an amoeba, a fly in the wall, whatever. But it's just not for you. This is your life right now. I mean, it's just nuts. Like you can't. And I don't believe in going back to the past. I don't think you can go in the future. I don't like. Whenever they have those stories of like, oh, this person's from the future. I'm like, no, you're not. Time does not move that way. It's all over the place.
See, I feel like
you can't travel like that. Like you would have your body would be so fucked up. Like just beaming people up in Star Trek was like to me like mesmerizing. Like how did they do that without losing a body part? Like,
so
they showed that in Family Guy. Or they like
not only that
missing or they're melty or something.
They do episodes in Star Trek where they talk about like that whole technology and how it started. Like there's like an episode.
Like, what if your nose is like over here?
There's an episode in Enterprise where they're talking about like how it works, and the guy who created it was doing a test with his son, and he lost his son's particles. And his whole mission was to try and reassemble those particles so he could re-get his son back. And there's the first Star Trek movie, Star Trek the Motion Picture, because of a transporter malfunction. Their first officer died in transit because it dispersed his particles. So like they do crazy episodes where like it's like 99% good, but there are little contingencies.
Or like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory one where like they have the kid going in the TV and it's like you can see all the particles, and they're just like, how do you know that the candy bar is going to be like whole when it's actually like in the TV? Like how do you know it's going to like show up like all the pieces like
as it's going to reassemble?
Yeah. What if your kid comes back like fucked up? Like beat me up, Scotty, and you're like, oh, it's just like your leg is like left behind. They're like, oh, I guess I have no leg now.
Your leg's like in your head.
That's what I'm saying. Because time and space moves differently. So like, I mean, I used to believe in the time traveling thing. I used to believe that was real. And like, I mean, it's fun to have conspiracy brain and kind of go that route. But like, I don't know. I don't know how physics works.
Well, I feel like time travel could be possible. I feel like we don't have the possibility to actually travel extensively.
It's excessive.
But humans perceive time linear.
Yeah.
But I feel like
it's like Interstellar when they go through the wormhole and her hand's all fucked up.
I personally feel like time is constant. So I feel like everything is happening simultaneously, but we can only perceive it in the way
Like what
that
you said,
we
remember
exist.
that there's countries that are like literally in the future.
Yeah,
Like when you're flying,
like Japan is in
but
tomorrow.
even if you're flying there, there's that one point of the flight where like there's no time. There's no time.
It's like Japan's already
You're
in
literally
like
floating in no time.
Yeah.
Which
And-
is weird.
and, it's
Your
crazy.
body does get affected.
It does.
Everything's moving around. Everything's all fucked up. You take a big giant shit after you fly.
Yeah.
I know I do. I don't know about you guys. But I always have to take a shit. when
And
I
then
fly.
the way
Your
that
body,
like
everything's changing. Everything's moving around. Like your body's reacting, and that's why they have to. It's weird.
it
It's
is
weird.
fucking crazy.
Yeah. So could you imagine being in a spaceship then? Because it's like you have to go so fast, time warp speed, and with the Orville, like when they're just like, "Hey, just take us back to base." Boom, you're there. Like,
Yeah.
boom, you're there.
And that's crazy
you're
too.
you're
because
out of the enemy. You're not a target anymore. Like just literally with the
you're just
blink of
gone.
faster than
Zip
a blink of
zoom.
an eye. Yeah.
It would be
Yeah.
crazy if we could
And
accelerate.
you wouldn't even feel
past,
it. You wouldn't even feel it. That would be it. It would be like
just accelerating past the speed of light would be
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
Like that would be insane.
yeah.
Like to know
Yes.
that like I could snap my fingers and boom, I'm in like
Although I
UK
feel like
right
Star Wars had a better accuracy. Like Star Trek had a good accuracy of like time travel and all that.
yes
Star
and no.
Wars- Star
Star Trek science is terrible.
Star Wars, I feel like was it kind of made sense when they would travel, when they fly through like
Hyperspeed or
yeah, and then also like they're flying around like boulders or whatever the fuck they're called, meteors and flying. You know, I feel like it just made sense with the choreographed movements that they.
You know what a great
like,
show
going
that,
through a planet like this planet's made of water, this planet's made of like rock. Like how would you maneuver? You know, like it just seems more real. Even though it's fantasy. Where Star Trek was like supposed to be inspiring the future generation of like this could be us.
yeah, exactly.
You know, this could be you, and obviously we're not there yet. Like Tesla, what are you doing? Like you're just making cars. Where's the spaceship? Where's it at? There's nothing here.
All right. Well, on that note, I think that's a good point to call it
We
off.
don't
then.
exist. We're nothing.
All right. Thank
We're
you for
nothing
tuning
and we're
in.
everything.
For the entire month, this show will run on Saturdays, barring select days. We might have a live on location close to the end of the month, which would be really cool. Other than that, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, TikTok. I believe.
And that would be me too with the Night
the
Owl
Night
Chicago,
Owl as well.
or Curator Kitty or CKtheDJ on Instagram and YouTube.
All of our reruns air on Pornhub and YouTube. Pornhub.com/models/not so late night live stream. Yeah.
Woo!